on mains you jumped, never asking why. You logged and said under your breath it was a loss no one could deny. Don't you ever say goons just run away, we will always fight you. Your leaders always lie, spinning like a top, we will always fight you. Goons came in like a wrecking ball, we never hit F1 so hard. All they wanted was to break our walls, all we ever did was wreck legacy. Yeah, we wrecked legacy. We put fighters high up in space, and now you're not logging in. It slowly turned you, let me burn, and now we're ashes on the ground. Don't you ever say goons just run away, we will always fight you. Leaders always lie, spinning like a top, we will always fight you. Goons came in like a wrecking ball, we never hit F1 so hard. All they wanted was to break our walls, all we ever did was wreck legacy. Goons came in like a wrecking ball, we never hit F1 so hard. All they wanted was to break our walls, all we ever did was wreck legacy. Yeah, we wrecked legacy. You thought you'd win this war, we just wanted you to fight us. And instead of logging in, I guess we should have let you win. You thought you'd win this war, we just wanted you to fight us. I guess we should have let you in. Don't you
That is hand.
Ooh.
5 minutes late.
I need to go pants on.
Getting old? Yeah, getting old to do that.
Chat is.
I'm muted. Hey, I come back. There got to be a sound problem.
This is very
Okay.
true. You
And who
can't
fucked up
do
the
these things
Zor
without
chain?
sound
I mean,
problem.
seriously, who put the G there? Not Zorg. It's Zor. Have we become so bad we don't know the Zor chain? I do like the bee over the fireplace there, McLeod. That's beautiful. Brings a tear to my eye. So just so everybody knows, I'm having a really hard time seeing the screen
Or composing sentences.
or composing sentences because it is eye allergy time for Eric. Hey, Carneros, tier 1 sub. Thank you, brother. 78 months. Woo!
Carneros racking up that time.
He is, baby. So what is shaking for everybody today? Is it an exciting weekend for everybody?
Well, Dawn's been microchipped today.
Yep.
Microchipped?
I got my vaccine today. Well, the first round of vaccine today.
Oh,
So
it's your first
it's
round.
microchipped.
How's your arm feel?
Fine for now, but I'm sure that'll change in about 24 hours.
Won't take that long.
Which one did you get? Do you mind me asking?
Moderna.
You got the Moderna. Okay. That's one I got. I'm through all both, so I've been chipped for a while.
Well, I was getting the Johnson one, but obviously that got pulled.
No. But the thing that you give it about 2-3 hours, and that'll pretty much put you where you are with the sore arm. Okay. And then you're going to then in a month you're going to get a fever and be sick for a day. Oh no, Brisk is here. Things are happening. What's happening? Because I turn everything off when I do the show. Well,
Things don't happen here.
More bees. I mean, you're just loading up the bees there, brother.
Yeah, making a little kind of bee collage.
I like what you did there. I mean, that's very. I mean, when I look at this video feed, I mean, it's got depth. It's got everything.
Eric, you missed
I love
it.
I love the
last
love
week.
pillow on the couch too.
Eric, you missed it last week. They were trying to post every single bee they could find. And Caleb had like 30 bees on his screen by the time
No,
the
see,
show was over.
Caleb wanted bees, so we were throwing every bee we could find at him.
Oh, you got the cool.
So that's why you see all those bees on there for McLeod.
You got the Goonfleet window wiper bee. I love that. That's good stuff, man. That's what makes things fun. So yeah, so I can't focus on anything.
That needs to go right in the center of like the little Reddit figure, Mac. That bee that you were just moving around there.
Oh right, I know what you mean.
Right there, down there in the bottom of the center of that image. Yeah,
The penis bee.
The Venus?
The Venus. I love it. The Venus.
Bee's not even valid anymore either, which is annoying.
What do you mean it's not valid anymore?
They're changing group structures, blah blah blah.
Nope. That's Eve. Can't
It's
have
not
it.
Eve. It's Goonswarm. Structure.
That
Gray area. It's a gray area.
Max putting him up, seriously.
Seriously did another track this week.
I know I should have pulled it down and played it, but I was too busy fiddling with the Hitler meme for our school district.
It was
That'll
pretty,
go
it was
rolling,
pretty
right?
good, but it's not as like tearjerker as the one before the 12 months old one for Karma Fleet. Even though those of us who aren't in Karma Fleet don't quite always relate. I'm just like, Karma Fleet. Whatever.
McLeod, I got to tell you, if you have too many pillows on your sofa that you can't sit on the sofa, you've got too many.
Yeah, because they have to start chucking them off the couch.
I mean, you mentioned Karma Fleet. I just want to throw a shout out to the guys from Karma Fleet who've been doing some really interesting cooking and throwing articles at me for the last few weeks.
Yeah, are you making a Goonswarm cookbook or?
I don't know if we'll combine it that way, but certainly there's
Interesting idea.
There's a few bits that have been quite cool. We had meat candy from Selco Embreeze. We've had steak with Aris. Aris is at some point going to give me something else when I whip him enough.
Wow.
Dave Stark's given us a couple of pieces. He dropped zingy chicken and buffalo potato skins yesterday. That was cool. And I'm just gonna say though, this one that we've got set up for next week already. Wow, it's gonna be fantastic. So be ready to tune in for that next Friday when that goes live. You're gonna look at this and really want to be making it yourself. It's incredible.
You say that, but I don't like cooking, so.
What?
Okay, then you're gonna see this and want somebody to make it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Derek, what is going on?
What is
with
that
your
buzzing?
mic? Put your wires together.
Buzzing.
There was a little bit of buzzing there.
Zzz.
Yeah.
I think it was somebody coming through there. I want to know why the staff only channel looks like the Julia Child Network. Can somebody tell me?
What?
I mean, we got nachos from Muffoon. We got cake from Dave Stark.
Oh, yeah, he was making some fudge thing.
You know, shortbread from Dave. I mean, there's a lot of cooking stuff. And then
We're the show that always has like a 10-minute cooking section at minimum.
I know, but that was a lot of cooking stuff to read through. Was somebody going through the car wash or something? What the fuck was going on there? I don't know.
No, that's my vaccines.
Oh, that's your vaccine. You went through like the
Yeah.
vaccine wash.
We
It's
went-
like the whale wash, the vaccine
Yeah.
wash.
So
Right in
so
your
how
car?
I'm in Indianapolis. So how they do offer an option, because I'm in Marion County, in the center.
Okay.
You could sign up and they have it at the track. So I believe the National Guard's there, and they set up all these tents like in lines, and then you drive through. They take you down through Gasoline Alley, which is where normally all of the race cars are getting set up for the races whenever they have them. And so they've got all these great little pull-in garages perfectly lined up all next to each other already. So they have different stations and different garages. Now they're all open and connected inside.
Mhm.
You can see in like one of the pictures. But so I just drove down and pulled in to one, and then I just rolled forward, and the lady stuck my arm, and I drove out, got to drive on the pit lane on the track, and then had to go like sit in a holding area for like 15 minutes to make sure the chip
Yeah.
turned on, and then
Yeah, that
went
chip
home.
turned on. You know, I just drove down to the pharmacy a couple of miles down the road, and you know,
Yeah, I could. That's something that we could do, but they have this. They're still doing the rollout where like, okay, people under these ages, and to make it easy to keep those types of
Hmm.
places. Because here, I stayed in my car the entire time, so I didn't have to get out or talk to anybody other than like rolling my window down. So it keeps your potential contact with other people pretty low.
I don't know
which is
about
nice.
shitting on the free market there. I don't know what pink. By the way, we're down to 16 in our state, so yeah. Chips are all on, baby.
You're down to
My
16 free
DNA is
market?
being altered. All the good stuff.
Listen, I'm talking about my experience of how I got to drive on the Indianapolis 500 track for free.
Did you drink
Woo!
milk?
No.
Oh.
Did you
How
know that-
fast could you go?
Yeah.
I think maybe 20 at the most.
Mm.
I was in the pit lane, which does have a speed limit of like 75 or something.
I thought it was lower
But-
than that, but maybe.
It's definitely way lower than the normal 220,
Mhm.
225 on the main straight, which I believe
Yeah.
this track doesn't have the highest. It has one of the highest banking turns, which is 9 degrees, 12 minutes apparently, which is what I've actually ridden a bike around the track for part of
Yeah.
the mini marathon, and you're like falling if you're not going fast enough, you're just like falling over to the side because it's pretty steep.
Yeah, 9 degrees doesn't sound like it's steep, but I hear those
When
things.
you
are
get
just
up
wicked
there-
steep.
You get up there, and the Indy cars, they go so fast that you kind of have to have the turn that high banked or else. I mean, especially since it's such a long track. But the Indy cars are designed that they could actually drive on the ceiling if at full speed. Which is pretty cool.
Ceiling at full speed.
Yeah, they can drive upside down because the downforce is so strong. It can keep the car.
Once they're up to speed,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is cool. And then leaving, I got to drive on the F1 track leaving. So they have an
Nice,
F1
nice,
track
nice.
built into the center. But F1's not allowed at Indy 500 anymore because they're jerks. So they use it
Mm.
for the Grand Prix and the Indy Lights and the motorcycle races.
Morden, I love that movie too. Ricky Bobby. I think it's a hilarious movie.
And drive with a live cougar.
You know what else is a great movie? Because we're in the movie segment of the show. Because that's a everybody loves the movie segment. I watched Hot Tub Time Machine this week.
That was actually a fun movie.
My wife hates that movie. I love
I can
that movie.
understand.
Yeah, I love Hot Tub Time Machine. So
I find it entertaining. It's definitely dumb, but it's entertaining.
of course it's dumb.
Like
great.
you have to
Dumb-
accept
it's-
that going in.
Like as far as I know, like Hot Tub Time Machine is pretty much as dumb as like say Beer Fest, right? Yeah, but it's entertaining. That's the thing.
I actually
I'm-
rewatched. Sorry, don't go ahead.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I actually rewatched one of my favorite films just this week as well. Arrival.
What's it about?
Don't know how many of you have watched it.
I've never heard of it. So what's it about?
It's Jeremy Renner and I forget what her name is, but
Amy Adams. Right?
it might be, yeah. But they're visited by aliens who have a different perception of time than we do.
Okay.
And
The one where they're working out their language or whatever.
they're working out the language, and as they work out the language, and they start to understand the language, because the language of this alien race is so differently framed. As they start working out the language, they actually start not traveling through time, but perceiving time differently.
Interesting.
Which is
Yeah, no spoilers.
it's
It's not.
that's not really spoilers. You've really got to watch it to kind of understand. It's very difficult to frame a spoiler for Arrival properly, but it's a fantastic film, and I love it so much.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
You will. It's a good movie.
So, what else we got? Amy Adams. There we go.
Well, I believe that I had to wait till 20 minutes, and it's been 21 minutes, so I feel like
We didn't go live till 7 minutes past, so
don't
We
fucking
did not
pull
go
that
live.
bullshit.
What, really? 7 minutes past? Was it that bad?
Yep.
Getting McLeod's
Yeah, it was that-
was challenging.
Ah,
Yeah.
that and
Okay,
with
so-
seriously song as well.
So we'll
Okay,
we'll,
got
we'll,
6
we'll
more
put in
minutes.
there. We'll put in there that I got to read this. That my daughter, who's 11, going on 25, okay, and my wife
They all these days.
came into my office, and they gave me this, okay, and since you probably can't read it, this is Ultra Repair Cream. And they said that my eyes were a little red and dry underneath, and I needed to take this and just dab it. I haven't done that, by the way, but I needed to put Ultra Repair Cream on my skin because I'm not taking care of my skin, and my daughter says I need to pay more attention to my.
You got to moisturize.
Yes, yeah, I got to moisturize.
ooh,
And-
I know what I can.
So because they've said dab and you're a
Yeah,
guy,
dab.
you're gonna like slather 7 or 8
just-
quarts. all
Well, I
over.
said. So what happens if I like dab and then there's like little things of cream left? Can I rub it in? They're like, no, you just keep dabbing it. I'm like,
Yes. So keep dabbing, right?
Yeah, but
keep
don't-
dabbing. So
yeah.
Dab.
you've got to go.
Dab.
You've got to go back into the tub for every dab, Eric. That's how you do that.
It's not a
That's how
tub;
it
it's a little squeezy thing. But they said
You've got to
"Don't-"
squeeze it out, and
They
new
said-
portion for every dab.
Then they go, you probably need it above your eyes too, but don't get it in your eyes. Very bad. In the eyes is bad. Around the eyes.
Yeah, I
is okay.
believe that.
So
Oh,
that is your
so-
skincare tip today from Push to Talk, just so everybody knows. So
now I remember I didn't get to
Don't
talk
get
about
the
it last
chemicals you don't understand in your eyes.
Week. I didn't get to talk about it last week because my internet was so bad. But I was at Disney World last week, and I got to go to the new Star Wars area, and they had baby Yodas everywhere. And all I wanted to do was buy one for Eric so he could add it to his collection.
You know,
What were
that's
you gonna
pretty
buy me?
insulting. That's pretty insulting, dismissive, and objectifying there, Dawn. He has a name.
What's the
Hold it.
child?
what were you gonna buy for me?
Grogu.
You're gonna buy me a little Grogu?
I was really tempted to because I had like little ones and big stuffed ones and like the little plastic toys and stuff. But I got to go to the new Star Wars area
Yeah.
and it's pretty cool. All the little hidden things around the place were fun to
That's
find,
cool.
and they had a droid section. And you can on the ground on the pathways. They always do something fun with the pathways, but they had R2D2 feet like footprints in some places and
Mhm.
C3PO footprints, and then animals and. If you pay attention to all those little details in Disney, you can find a ton of cool stuff.
The my son has a I don't care Morton. My son has a baby Yoda pillow, like a big one. I'm sure you saw those. And actually, for my birthday, my wife bought me a little baby Yoda. He's about this big. He's actually
I
right
know,
over
you
there
showed
looking
us
at
to
me.
him. So that's why I was like, I thought of you instantly when I was there.
Thanks.
Like, I really would like to get one of those, but decided not to. I wanted to buy like a T-shirt or something.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, all the shirts they had there like made no sense, and it's like I guess I'll just have to buy something online at that point because they did not look good. Though they did have they had a Han's picture and a Leia picture, like 2 different shirts, and one said Leia's shirt says "I love you," and Han's shirt says
I know.
"I know." Yeah. So we thought that
You
was
know
pretty
how
cute.
many like newly married couples buy those, right? It's got to be the
Yeah.
thing, right?
Well, my mom bought my dad the Hans one, and I was like, "Mom, did you get the Leia one?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "It doesn't work if you don't have the Leia one."
I don't know.
Ah.
I don't know. I think your father might disagree. He's got a shirt that just says "I know."
It was great.
Oh, that's funny. I don't
So
know
that
any of
was-
that. That's cool. Those are cool shirts.
I
that's probably
actually saw a pair of those shirts at the premiere for The Force Awakens. So
there you go.
they've had them for a while.
I will
They're good
say
shirts, though.
the rides, the new ride, the Rise of the Resistance ride,
Mhm.
which you can only go on once a day at most. Like you have to like get a reservation to be able to get on it, and then you have to give it like you kind of like get a boarding group, and they're like, "Okay, we called your boarding group. You got an hour to get on this ride." Or at least get in line for the ride. And there's
Mhm.
not usually like a line. It's just so popular that they're like, okay, we gotta limit how many people can get on. But it was a lot of fun. Once again, the atmosphere building was really, really good. And Disney takes its social distancing very seriously because they're like, you're gonna stand on that dot over there. And they don't like mix groups, even if like you're riding solo, like some rides that are like you need to have more than one person riding, they're like, sorry, it's just closed because we will not, or they won't let solo riders on because they don't want parties mixing at all. And you know, the lines were easy enough to get through. Everyone was really friendly. That's the one thing people like to bitch about Disney, and I get it, but when you're at the parks, they are so nice. No matter how, you don't feel like getting angry because they're just so pleasant to be around all the time. And we had a good time.
We're not a Disney family. We don't go to Disney.
Everyone should at least once.
But my sister does in her family. My brother-in-law is a little upset with them. They apparently changed Jasmine's outfit, and he's a little upset.
Yeah, but they also changed Ariel's outfit slowly over time, so people wouldn't notice. So it's like whatever, like whatever. They just do whatever they can to make things, you know, relevant or
whatever.
good.
So, I go to the South Carolina shore every year. That's my thing. Forget Disney. I don't care.
Well, every time we don't do big Disney trips.
Mhm.
What we do is we go on cruises out of Florida a lot. Not every year, but you know, usually every other year or so. And we always plan to go to one park on our way down. So we'll always go a day early and spend time in, you know, Epcot for the day, and then we get on the cruise the next day. So that's why I've been to Disney like 15, 20 times, but it's usually just one park at a time.
Now my
I've only
sister,
had,
yeah,
like,
my
3
sister,
big Disney trips.
yeah, my sister does like Disney cruises because she says that. I mean, not that anybody's cruising right now, but
They're overpriced.
the ships are immaculate. They just make sure there's no trash and nothing's dirty. Everything's super clean anyway. And since she's like a super clean germaphobe, that kind of fits for her. You know?
Well, the Disney cruises are currently sitting moored off the side of Cape Canaveral. Oh, that was the other thing that I got to see. So last week on Wednesday, I was at Cocoa Beach swimming, and we got to watch the SpaceX rocket launch.
Nice.
From the beach. Yeah. We're just sitting there. All of a sudden, I hear this like loud thundering noise. Like, we look up, we see this bright red thing streaking across the sky. So we looked it up. Like, yeah, there was a launch today of like 60 satellites going into space. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
You know, for somebody who gets so het up about the tradition of not talking about Eve for the first X amount of time, Dawn's actually got some really cool stuff to add to this week. See, Dawn, this is why we do this. So let's catch up with each other.
That's right. And by the way, you can talk about Eve now.
I know. I was going to point that out, but then I was like, oh, wait, rocket launch. They will appreciate this.
Yes, because it's cool. Like, more Starlink shit. like better internet for people. It's chill. If my voice is loud, that's an Eric problem.
It doesn't sound
But
like
Eric's
me.
old and going deaf, so
I am old.
If Dirk's voice is loud, that's just because Dirk is generally
I'll
loud.
just turn it down a little bit. We'll see if that works. But he's not any different than anybody else. So, yeah. Hey, I'm sorry for dumping on you guys last week. I forgot we had the last cheerleading competition
Ever?
No, just
Ever.
just for this season.
Ever!
Just for this season. I think sometime, I don't know when, she starts it year round. She's only in the half year competitive cheer. I think somehow she's getting into the full year. Here she goes up the steps. You know.
Nope. It's all because of Dawn now. Nobody can ever do cheerleading again.
I have a mean daughter. She's so mean.
Dawn has ruined it for everybody.
Okay, well, Eve time. Eve time.
You miss McLeod? How do you miss McLeod, Striga? He's right here.
Oh my god, the headbanger
Name better.
bees are on. I didn't notice you got the headbanger bees on. That's great.
A whole bunch more, like, seriously.
Yeah, the headbanger
I didn't look
bees.
over there.
Things.
They travel in groups of 3.
You got to. Or else you just look like a crazy man swinging your hair around.
But
But if you have a group, then you're a band.
there you go.
So this week, we had half of the industry stuff hit.
Oh
or
yeah.
Feldistry, as we like to call it, which was the blueprints getting seeded, the gas clouds supposedly happening.
Did we though?
The
Did
gas
all the
clouds-
blueprints actually get seeded?
No details here. That's only, it's fine. And then some of the parts, I think, from the data site that you got to get for some of the ships are starting to drop. But the teeny tiny line that when Dirk and I were talking about it earlier this week, no one really understood what it meant. They deleted 14,500 belts from the game, asteroid belts,
Yes.
in one fell swoop. And then yesterday, CCP
And they
select-
immediately started getting questions about, so CCP, listen, for nullsec systems where you have to start doing your military index, how do you do that now since rats don't spawn anywhere and there are no anomalies yet?
Yeah,
and by the way, how do we get officer spawns now?
yeah,
And by the way, how do we find NPC CTOs?
yeah. So obviously there were tons of Reddit threads this week of just pointing out, and my boy toy Docs, he officer hunts. That's what he likes to do in the game when he plays Eve, and he does it in Curse, which was hit the hardest with every single belt besides ice belts, which only randomly spawn in a region occasionally, being deleted. And he did not believe me. He was he's like, "You're wrong. No way." I was like, "No, they're all gone." So I listened on Discord while his poor little heart sank further and further as he started going from system to system, trying to find a belt to work to.
Yeah.
Honestly though, like real talk here, right? CCP has an ecosystem team, right? Like,
Oh.
they wouldn't have just done this without knowing.
Well, they have a plan.
Wait,
This is-
wait,
No,
wait!
no.
They
Hold
addressed
on, let
this
him finish.
yesterday.
Let him finish.
Give him his time.
They wouldn't have done this without knowing that there were mechanics tied to this, tied to all of these belts. So clearly they've shifted all of those mechanics to other kind of areas of space and this, that, and the other. So like you just
Hey,
need to find them.
they're-
Like they'll
McLeod.
probably release a dev blog saying like,
Just
don't worry guys, we had it all along.
Just so
Hold
I'm really clear about your point here, McLeod. What you're suggesting is that this was an ecosystem change, and in ecosystems everything is interlinked. So
well, yes, 'cause
obviously
If you-
in one part, would it have follow-on impacts on other aspects of the ecosystem?
if you look at the patch notes, it's literally under the it literally says ecosystem changes. Like it's
It
there
does,
under
yeah.
ecosystem
Hey,
changes.
Yeah,
I
it
will
does say
comment
that.
to both of you as the host. There is no room in this show for either of your sarcasm over this change.
I'm
Okay.
so glad you could pick up on my sarcasm.
Okay, So yesterday,
Eric, there is no
CCP's
room in this show for your sarcasm about their sarcasm.
There is no room in this show for me. I don't really.
So yesterday, CCP Swift.
Well, no, you keep us
or-
on time.
Hey,
No, I don't.
mine's relevant.
Yes, ma'am.
So yesterday, CCP Swift, or as we know him, Elise Randolph, put out I believe a tweet or something on the forums, one of the two, yesterday, stating that they've heard our concerns. The ecosystem team made the changes to the belts, and they did not realize how much it would impact certain playstyles and activities throughout the game so adversely, and they will be rectifying it at some point to make it so those concerns we have, such as officer spawns or faction spawns, to be tied to something else where they can spawn it or some sort of other mechanic.
I'm
So
raising,
this-
I'm
so
raising my hand.
So they
I'm-
admitted that they didn't know that it was going to fuck everything up.
Hold it. Yeah, hold it. I just want to inject here, okay?
Uh-huh.
How the fuck did they not know?
Well,
Because they didn't ask. Because they didn't put this change in front of the CSM and go. So is this a stupid idea or not?
Because they
I
are
was
an
there going-
ecosystem
I was there
team
going,
in name
This is
only.
this is like fundamental shit. I mean, this is
Yeah.
Eve 101, and you're the developer and you didn't realize these changes would have this effect. I mean, I understand some things you don't understand the effects of, but this is like basic.
Okay, look.
I mean, this is like, kindergarten.
There are
You know what? Sorry.
there
go
are
ahead.
some devs here I can actually give a pass on this. Okay,
Uh-huh.
like Rattati. Believe it or not, I'm willing to give Rattati a pass on this.
No.
When Dirk and I interviewed Rattati last year, he was
We didn't.
yeah, we did,
Uh,
or maybe it was the year before.
I don't think he's
we-
ever.
we
I
did
don't think
master
he's played-
plan.
The thing is, I don't think
No,
Tati's
we
really
did
played Eve
Rattati.
for that long.
And we did Rattati when he first came in, and he was willing to tell us straight up that there was a lot of shit he didn't know because he hadn't been doing Eve, he'd been doing Dust.
Yeah,
Oh yes, actually, yes, I do remember this now. Sorry, my
Right,
he was a
apologies.
developer of
And
Dust,
so,
not
and
Eve.
right, but so there's a whole lot of shit he doesn't know, and he knows he doesn't know it. However, the rest of the goddamn devs he's working with should be able to tell him this shit that he doesn't know.
Part in the tweet from Swift yesterday was that, God, I just had it.
For example, Elise fucking Randolph should be able to tell him this shit.
Yeah, but he's on the community.
Yeah, but
team. He's in-
I don't think he even knew that they were going to delete it.
Yeah,
Like, he
like-
I'm
just,
willing to
I
bet he
just-
didn't.
I
Oh,
just want
okay.
to point out, by the way, while we're on that, just brief
That's
comment
okay.
before I get into the further implications of this change. It is pretty fucking important when it comes to introducing major changes like Feldestry, like the belt changes, like any major change to super capitals in EVE Online. Like, for example, buffing the Rorqual to be this god tier mining ship in the middle of a boost rebalance. It's pretty fucking important that you actually have an idea of how your community is going to react to that. It might be a positive move to loop in somebody from your community team on the changes and just run it past them, going like, look, you're
Exactly.
supposed to be tied into the community. How is community sentiment gonna change with this? And hey, we're gonna do it anyway, so you might want to get prepped for whatever your analysis of the community sentiment shifting is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I'm willing to give Rattati a pass on not knowing this. I'm not willing to give the rest of the team a pass on not knowing this. I'm not willing to give Rattati a pass on not asking about it.
I don't know why they removed the belts. There was no like. This
Because
is
there were
part of
no
our
because there's
Yeah.
no asteroids left in the belts, and so the belts are just taking up a database space that they're trying to clear up so that they reduce
Well, and
computing time on systems that aren't being used.
They also said that they wanted to remove the confusion and annoyance from players warping to belts that are empty constantly. So they wanted to just remove them so people didn't keep trying to go to them over and over again.
why do I have that
Right.
feeling that they saw a statistic saying, X number of people are warping to belts and like not mining, not realizing that those people probably know
Warping
full
to
well.
belt to avoid getting shot.
Yeah, either avoiding getting shot, saying like, meet me at belt 1 for a fight 1-on-1, if it's not the sun or anything like that, right? Or basically going through the belts to spawn, rats in order to get an officer spawn, right? Like, I just kind of feel that they looked at a single statistic, went, oh, people are doing this when it's redundant that they should be doing it, not thinking, oh, there might be more stuff tied to this.
Gosh, everybody must be confused because there's no way the players understand what this means.
Right, so there's a question in Twitch chat that I want to briefly address, which is McBeggar1 asking, how do you ask if you don't know? And the answer to this, it lies in the fact that there are three types of known. There are three types of known things.
4.
Known knowns. 4.
4. But go ahead.
Known knowns, unknown knowns,
You're doing the
unknown
red thing
unknowns.
again.
Where's the fourth, Horrendous?
There you go.
So there's the known knowns, there's the known unknowns, the unknown knowns, and the unknown unknowns. Rumsfeld only covered 3 of them in his poem. But the unknown knowns are the things you didn't realize that you knew until after you find them and go, oh yeah, I totally knew that.
Yeah, like you may remember that this is the mechanic, but you may not remember to think about that mechanic.
Right.
That you're going to.
That's an unknown known.
Fair. Anyway, so the point is that Rattati, in the interview that Horrendous has already referenced, said that he knew there was a bunch of stuff he didn't know, didn't have the details for. Like, if he doesn't know these things, and he knows he doesn't know these things, he
Then he
can
should
ask about them.
What could go wrong with this? That's the simplest question you can ask. What can go wrong with this?
Realistically, if we're talking about actual process for managing these changes, there should always be a 10th man asking, a proverbial 10th man at least, asking that question anyway.
Right.
What more have we missed? Is there anything more that we have missed? And what the fuck does it break? But
what aren't we seeing?
The thing about this change though that I really love is the implication of what removing these asteroid belts means down the line. Because we know they've said multiple times that they are working towards resource redistribution at the minute. That's a thing that they're working towards. Feldestry changes are part of that process, and we'll be getting some sort of readjustment on the availability of minerals soon TM. But this is that's the you say a month from now. There's no timeline.
I said 8 months from now.
They haven't given any guarantee that it will be anywhere near that soon. They just said soon.
8 months is too soon?
It could be 80 years.
That's true.
I just want to point out we are coming up on the end.
We're already in
so,
the year.
The end of what?
16 months is in fact longer than a year, Dawn. Well done.
Bravo. Everything.
But the implication of them removing these asteroid belts that are currently not in use, if we are to believe that they will remain gone, is that when we reach phase 3 of this plan, which is what they call dynamic redistribution, these asteroid belts will not be a part of that phase 3 program. Because if they are going to be a part of the long-term plan, which they've said they have a long-term plan, they know what they're doing and we should trust them. If they know what they are doing and we trust them on this, and we trust that them removing those asteroid belts was a step in that plan, those asteroid belts are irrelevant when we get to dynamic redistribution. When these changes are done, if they have a plan and they are following it, then this is a stage in the plan that is done. So they will not be reintroducing those asteroid belts because they are not relevant. If they were relevant down the line, then they would not have needed to be removed. Exactly.
It'd be introducing another point where things could fail and the system break down.
But Meridian in Twitch chat has a very good point of, they keep saying that they know what they're doing and they have a plan and that we should trust them, and then they do things like remove the asteroid belts, and then somebody of part of the community team has to go out on Twitter and say, sorry guys, we know we removed these asteroid belts. We intended to remove these asteroid belts. We didn't realize what other aspects of the player ecosystem that would have a knock-on effect on, even though we are the ecosystem team. And so, yeah, our bad.
I want to get
And
something
this is
real. I want to get something
go ahead.
really, really clear, right? Dirk, are you saying that if they don't add the asteroid belts back in, it means that those asteroid belts were clearly part of the plan not being there, and so if that was a mistake by them, they have to somehow figure out how to reintroduce all the mechanics that were based around those asteroid belts in a way, which basically means that they've just put a whole bunch more work on top of them. Or
Yes.
they have to reintroduce those asteroid belts to not have to do all of that work, but also have to basically admit to the fact
that the asteroid belts serve multiple purposes.
But if they reintroduce it, they have to basically suck it up and say that they didn't actually have a plan.
Well, no, they'll never say they don't have a plan.
No, but they'll basically say it sort of,
There are ways to get around saying that we didn't have a plan. We had a plan, but unfortunately that was one key aspect that we overlooked. We're sorry, we're reworking the plan. Here, have the asteroid belts back in the meantime. But if long term they want to break away from the asteroid belt model, there is a ton of technical debt on things that rely upon the asteroid belts, and I mean, rest in peace, Tobias is only one of those.
Yeah, if you got a Tobias
also dead, Tobias, the angel officer, I forget his last name.
Gretchen is, I think, the other one that also spawns in Curse. So Tobias, you're never gonna get again until they reintroduce that
which they won't.
mechanic, which is gonna be so low on their radar. If you got a Tobias Webb or Tobias, God, what else do you get out of?
If you've got any Tobias officer mods,
they're gold.
Don't sell them yet.
For fuck's sake, get them off of your ship and into Jita so they can appreciate value.
If we want to talk about things that they started that they then never finished, we'll be here all day. But in terms of the officer situation, they've removed these Toby mods from the availability of acquisition at present.
I'll be right back, guys.
Okay. Do you think that was the plan though? Like, do you think maybe taking them,
because I want to point
removing them to reintroduce them in a way that they can control them more?
McLeod, they started working on faction super capitals, right? They started working on those. I think the first ones were introduced back in 2016, early 2016, with the Serpentis. Those come through Serpentis LP stores.
No, the first one was the Rev.
The first one was the Revenant, which was brought in Incursion. But when they started talking about significant additions to the faction supercaps, we had the Serpentis in 2016, which was an LP store item. Then they introduced the NPC Satio mechanic. They managed to get through 2 faction NPC Satios, which were the Blood Raiders followed by the Garistas, which is how we get things like the Moloch, the Komodo, the Loggerhead, the most useless gimmick of a dreadnought I've ever seen, things like that. But then in 2018, I believe, at EVE Down Under, they started demoing concept art for the Angels super capitals, which is where we all get this image of a crab titan with
that was
bonuses.
Vegas.
And the concept art for the Angel
was Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it on an EVE Down Under stream. They may have been reusing content as they always do.
Yeah.
These things happen. But anyway, we had these plans, and then they killed the NPC Satio development because it wasn't being run the way they wanted it to be run. So, hey, goon rushed it with maulers, and then goon rushed it with frigates, and then then it has to be a thing where we have to make this harder, and then people just defaulted to running it with Titans instead.
Oh no, you
because-
missed a step. You missed a step. First, the NPC Sotios were only going to show up in the space those NPCs held because, well,
Mhm.
that makes sense.
That spawn rate was an adjustment just after they introduced Garistas. I believe at the time they basically said, "Hey, we're not doing this anymore."
No, they did it. They changed where they spawned with the Garistas introduction because of two big reasons. One, the Garistas control like 15 fucking regions. Not really, but they're basically half the goddamn nullsec map. And two, they were getting really pissed off at the fact that we were running all the Blood Raider ones because they, showed up where we could get them.
Well, if they didn't want goons to get these things, they shouldn't have started out with goon regions.
If they didn't want goons to
True.
get these things, they shouldn't have made them exist. Let's be honest.
Also true. So, these things, we're now talking about the NPC CTOs, which was a mechanism that they didn't like for introducing super capitals to the game, or super capital potential to the game. They don't like the LP store. Now they don't like belts to bring in officer mods.
They don't like
Just-
supers.
I mean, they'll eat all supers,
Titans.
really, but
What,
They-
about, what about this game do they like?
They've
the consistent history
they're
is...
they're trying to make super capitals less prolific, which is fine. They're trying to make them more of a strategic excuse me, strategic asset that you have to risk, which is
I
fine.
love how you had to
Didn't even
clear
get
your
that.
throat and then still laughed saying it.
No,
And at the same time, they're adding all functionality to super carriers for fleet support. Like, guys,
They
decide
have-
whether or not you want us using them.
Look,
How-
Orendax,
how
they
is
have to
it-
how are
define...
these-
They have
how are
to
these
define
changes-
ship roles.
How are these changes not just basically solidifying people's advantages in the game?
Well, they
already?
are just solidifying people.
what I
people's
love is
advantage.
that
How is this
And
not
more,
like
they're
2006?
they're just making sure that we're less likely to risk super capitals when they are actually at risk. The only time they'll get used is when they're an I win button to just drop on poor unsuspecting bastards who can't fight back.
You know what I love is that they have the big announcements on Tuesday, the Feldistry and everything. And the thing that everybody latched onto, and clearly CCP didn't understand how big it was going to be, that one little line of, we're moving belts. There was no other hint at it. There was no big explanation on what it really meant. They just had one sentence or one or two sentences on it. And then that is the thing that blew up this week.
Yeah, it was.
It's 40% of the belts in the game were removed, according to Dotland.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
um,
but at the
trust
same
us,
at the
we have
same
a plan.
time, none of those belts had anything in them other than the officer's mount.
Right,
Okay.
because of how the mechanics and regional distribution on certain ores and stuff and all the changes they have made in the past
Right,
year
which is clearly
have
what they were
adjusted the
thinking.
belts.
Which is
But it's just
clearly
like-
what they were thinking. They were clearly thinking, these things are useless anyway.
But, I mean, we alluded to this earlier. One line item
Yeah, I'm
in
not in the car, by the
patch
way.
notes. One line item in the patch notes was the removal of the belts. And that created huge issues with the interconnected ecosystem of nullsec.
Mhm.
But equally, you mentioned the Feldistry changes there, Dawn,
Mhm.
which increased the availability of mycocerosing gas.
supposedly.
Well, I mean, I don't have any information to
haven't gone-
contradict that. Yeah,
Right, I haven't gone looking in LowSec to see that it's not there.
but
Some people have noted that they haven't been able to find it as easily as they thought they would.
well, as easily as they thought they would is very different from they haven't been able to find it at all.
I
So,
think yeah,
That's
some things started showing up in Catch, but
there's a question of assumption there.
yeah.
Right, but Catch isn't LowSec.
Well, it's also in nullsec too. Is where the
Yes,
belt comes out.
some nullsec systems. The vast majority of this shit got put into every system in LowSec. Go look for it in LowSec, you'll find it.
But the headline of this change, the Micro Torosin as part of the Feldestry changes, yeah, but the headline of this change was the introduction of the blueprints that you're going to need to build all of the new shit that Feldestry introduces, and also the introduction of drop items that will be used to build all of the new shit that you need to build everything else that you need in this new Feldestry update. And I don't think I even went deep enough on the chain of to build all of the things that you need to build all of the things that you need in Feldestry, because some of these changes are like 7 fucking stages deep.
Can I ask the dumb question of the day?
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Why do we need more ships?
We don't.
Okay,
No. This is more shit to build the same ships, Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not new stuff for new ships.
I thought you were saying
This
we
is-
were getting all these new ships.
No,
so
no,
you're
no,
saying
new
No.
shit.
New shit.
No.
See,
New
see,
shit.
this
Yeah,
is
no,
where
this
my
is-
old, I'm old.
This is a
Right.
whole lot of more complexity just to build battleships.
Oh,
This is like battleships
so
now need
there's not
Mungu
enough
reactions, Eric.
complexity in Eve.
Battleships need T2 materials. Like, get that.
So there's not enough complexity in Eve, so we're adding some more, and we're counteracting that complexity by removing belts. So that
Well,
there's-
we're adding
So we removed
adding-
some complexity of the belts, and we added complexity of shipbuilding.
more complexity that has to be done without adding any more options that get to be done.
That's always a winning
Yeah,
formula.
fantastic strategy.
Mm.
But they couldn't even get the headline part of this patch right.
Right, because they didn't put in all the blueprints that they said they were putting in.
All the blueprints. I mean, I ran out all the way to Ore Space on the off chance that the capital FTL communicators weren't racially seeded, but were seeded in some
We
random
don't
nullsec.
talk about race on this show. We're not allowed to do
All right, nationally seated.
Fine. Let's talk about nationalism instead. What a
That'll be so
what
much
a
better.
positive shift. But yeah, like they couldn't even seed more than half of the blueprints that they were supposed to be introducing here.
Did they
on
forget to
patch day.
upload an Excel file to the fabulous Microsoft platform of databases?
I mean,
I
given that
I do believe that some of the ones that were seeded actually had some errors in them as well. Like,
Yes.
wouldn't surprise me.
Quantity errors.
Whoa! Errors?
Things
quantity
like
errors.
things like
like-
reaction formulas showing up as researchable blueprints.
Oh wow! Amazing.
Things like this needs X when it actually, was supposed to need 1/10 of X.
Do they have
Uh-huh.
a QA team?
No,
Yes.
there's nobody. QA
Yes,
in
they
this
do.
shit.
It's called
they-
the community of
Yeah.
players who go.
You're right.
No, I don't always
Ridiculous.
test
No,
my
no,
code
no,
in
no, no.
production, but when I do, I
They-
do it in production.
No, Eric.
Yeah.
No. What the proper description you're looking for is
I know.
I don't always QA my code, but when I do, I'm drunk on Dos Equis.
Ah, you are the most interesting man in the world, Arendon. And I mean that lovingly. I do.
But yeah, like they do have QA guys, and in fact,
Clearly not.
if
they do, they suck. Okay.
I'm not going to comment on the value provided by the QA guys. I'm just saying that they have QA guys, and if CCP
theory.
Master Plan was to be believed 2 years ago when Arendis and I spoke to him,
Mm-hmm.
they have a QA guy attached to every
Guy.
team. A QA guy per team. Whether or not a QA straddles teams is a different question entirely, but every team
has
will
a QA
have
guy.
an assigned QA.
Mm-hmm.
We were told that. I remember
And-
being told that.
And so, whether the QA is good enough, whether the QA team has enough resources to do their job in such a complex environment. I mean, what QA guy is going to look at a line item of remove empty asteroid belts that have no asteroids left available, if they're looking at the patch notes preemptively and trying to test these things on the in-house prod server, or the in-house dev server, sorry, they're not going to look at a line item of removed empty asteroid belts that have no asteroids left available and think, oh shit, there's going to be a bunch of stuff associated with the asteroid belts that I need to QA.
That's their job.
Anywho, I gotta bounce. I will
Later,
catch
Renus.
you guys
Thanks for
after,
hanging by.
since you've got another
Why can't-
25 hours
Why
of show.
can't you guys get your meetings moved to 3 if we're not going to have
Why can't they be on
fireside
Sunday?
at 3?
Because a big part of why all of this is being split up like this is so that it's not a quick, okay, we've done this and now Mittens has to run and rush and, get 30 other things done. The hour
Yeah,
difference.
so
is
you
important.
can move your meeting to 3 now.
And then the meta show's at 4 right after the meeting.
Oh, details.
Yeah,
Does he even
seriously.
get? It's fine. Go ahead. Have a good day.
G'day, mate. Hey.
Space meeting
So-
scheduling is like a far more complex thing than
It
you might
is.
think, Dawn.
It is. Hey,
I know.
so here's second dumb question of the day. So
Only the second.
only
You're
the
doing well
second.
today, Eric.
So did they permanently remove the belts, or are they only removed when they're empty?
Yeah.
It-
Oh no,
it
they're
was...
gone. They don't exist in space.
No,
They
no,
don't even
yeah,
have a beacon anymore.
basically what happened here, Eric, was as a result of previous changes that the ecosystem team had done to
Mhm.
the variety of ores available in various areas of space
Gotcha.
and the types of ores available in space, there were a significant number of nullsec belts that had been, due to the way they'd removed things and the way belt seeding works, had continuously no asteroids at all ever.
Because they couldn't spawn there.
Yeah.
To give you an idea,
Makes
like
sense. So let me
the
answer
east
Newsline's
side's
thing.
all Hedbrigite and stuff.
The Firesides moved to Sunday. Meta show is in an hour. Or
Meta show
2
is
hours.
in
2 hours.
Meta show is usual time.
Yeah, usual time. 4
Whenever that
o'clock
is.
Eastern, of which it is 2 o'clock Eastern right now. So 2 hours to Meta show.
Yeah.
There's Meta show 2 hours. No Fireside until tomorrow.
Fireside
Sorry.
is tomorrow at the usual eve time of 2000. No,
Yes, Meta
1900.
show is
1900 eve. Fireside tomorrow, 1900 eve. Meta show today at 2000 eve.
There you go. Time is hard.
Look, these guys live on American time zone. It's why the Fireside is like an hour time different, because everything lives on Mittens time. And I perpetually bitch at these guys at this time of year, and also in October, about why can we not just do these things at Eve time? But no, they all resist.
None of us think in
because
Eve time, so it's never gonna happen.
because fucking arrogant American.
Absolutely.
I'm saying
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. So we start this show the same
Because
time.
freedom time.
Freedom time.
Freedom time.
We'd have to then do it at an hour different our time.
Like, the Europeans have absolutely no problem shifting our headspace, 1 hour behind or 2 hours ahead or whatever, because we do this all the time with each other. These Americans,
That's
they're just like, this is my time and that's it. I'm done.
Well, we have a couple time zones,
Yeah, I think of Central and that's about it. So Eastern and Central, those are the two I know.
We should make
It's 'cause
UTC the
Central's 1 hour
worldwide time
behind.
standard. Just
That should
everything
make your
happens at
mom.
UTC.
You know what? Arrogant
There-
American. That should be like the name of a microbrew beer.
Dinox, you definitely shouldn't shit for French guys either. But then the French will riot at anything. Any excuse to put heads on spikes.
Oh, the French riot? I thought they just surrendered all the time.
Oh, no,
Oh, they had a huge riot last year. What are you talking?
the French riot all the time. Like, the French riot about not knowing why they're rioting.
There you go. The what's the other? Oh, what was I? We were talking about they say they
The
have a
belt.
plan for everything. right? Didn't
Yes,
some of the
the ecosystem
greatest
team.
failed battles and losses of wars, come from battle plans that were just terrible? Just because they have a plan doesn't mean it's a good one.
There's the phrase "no plan survives first contact with the enemy," and this works in a lot of ways. And you're talking about battle plans that failed miserably. The issue is that the plan was fine, but the moment you implement the plan, somebody reacts to your plan. We call it 4-dimensional chess here in EVE because we're always playing the meta game as well. But you're playing against other people with 3D assets in a 3D space.
Mm-hmm.
So you make a move that is the first stage in your plan, a 4-stage plan, call it. You make a move, somebody reacts. Suddenly, your next move in your plan, you were going to take X amount of territory, and then you were going to dig in. And you take the territory and you dig in, and then your next stage is to move forward and dig in. But while you were digging in, the enemy has now taken the space that you were going to take in your next advance, and now you have to fight the enemy instead of moving into that space and digging in again. And so this is what the ecosystem team is. It's kind of like what the ecosystem team has done. They've made a change, and then while they were trying to figure out, while they were trying to get prep for their next stage, we moved in and were like, okay, so this is the change. Here we are. Here is our reaction, and this is part of why the ecosystem team has been justifying for the past 18 months now that they can't tell the CSM these things, because if they tell the CSM these things, it creates an image, even if it's a false image, an image that the CSM have privileged information and that they may be acting on that. And also, there's this CCP thing that they want us to be surprised.
Are you going to tinfoil
as well.
for me?
I'm not tinfoiling. I'm saying this is what CCP have said. They want us to be surprised by these changes. They want us to discover these changes. But they also want to make these changes in an organized manner. They want to have step-by-step plans where they do one change, and then the next, and then the next, and by the time they're done with their 4-stage change, which takes them 6 months, at best, we will be in a better place. But at every step of the process, we are here going, okay, you've made this change. We need to react to the way you've made this change, which means that, okay, scarcity. You want to kill our stockpiles. What that means is that our stockpiles are now more valuable to us as strategic resources.
Mm-hmm.
We can lose less ships and replenish them less easily because we have to treat our stockpiles as very strategic resources. We can't throw ships away the same way we used to. We can't have random fights just for the sake of having fights, because
I beg to differ there, because we have proven them we will.
Well, we will.
We don't have a choice.
But my point there, Dawn, is like, if we throw away a 250-man battleship fleet for a joke, and then 3 days later we get invaded, that's a 250-man battleship fleet that we threw away on a joke that we could then have used in the defense of something like, for example, NPC Delve against Keepstars. So these things are always thought processes, and CCP don't seem to understand that at every stage we have a reaction period before they make the next change.
So what you're saying is, by making resources and strategic reserves more valuable and ships harder and more expensive to replace, that you are likely to get less fights if that stuff was easy to get rid of. I'm saying
that is a logical progression. I'm not saying that happened, because as we know, scarcity happened and then we all got embroiled in this war that has lasted now more than 9 months. But what I will say is that war has artificially kept up significant destruction numbers, in part due to battles like M2, but also, the smaller skirmishes that are happening more regularly than they otherwise would at a scale that they wouldn't have been under usual circumstances. And so what I'm saying as well, in response to GamerDad Basie in Twitch chat, who said that what I was saying is that scarcity will last twice as long because we're gimping their efforts. What I'm saying is we're nearing the end of month 16 of scarcity. I'm saying it already has. We did this. They've been making changes and we've been reacting, and now they're just trying to figure out where the next step comes from.
It's like, this reminds me of. It's kind of like if we don't know the plan, then nobody can predict the plan, because even we don't know the plan, right? But it's sort of like it's also kind of reminiscent of someone painting themselves into a corner.
Well, to shift gears potentially a little bit,
Okay.
there was an interesting fight today. FRT was working-ish with initiative to shoot AOM. Interesting. It was a big fight. Killed about 80 billion of AOM stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Or were you guys just happened to be there at the same time? Or do you know what happened, McLeod?
I have no idea what happened.
Shit went boom.
Helpful. So helpful. And then Snuffed had a huge loss yesterday, from what I saw. They lost a ton of capitals. And apparently they lost so many fighters, they had to warp away because they just didn't have any more fighters left. So that was a big fight this week. And then 7 Titans died last week. Like, other places in space are finally seeming like they're getting tired of waiting for the South to do what it's gonna do, that they're finally just poking each other in the face.
That's what GamerDad Basie was posting. He had the battle report. I don't know if it's right. I just grabbed his.
See, let us clicky. But yeah, there's been some big fights this week that have not been in Delve. But what has been in Delve is Test learning what they're going to have to deal with if they try to live in Delve. Because apparently they don't understand
what don't they understand?
What it's like to live here.
And
I quote, "We'll just camp every system in NPC Delve. You guys won't be able to do anything to hurt us in NPC Delve."
Really?
I'm sitting in 1DQ on the Keepstar, and we're just running around, dropping on whatever we can find. So much so that most of space is empty.
There are some people in Goonswarm, correct me if I'm wrong, Dawn, but there are some people in Goonswarm who have used standings mechanic to be able to drop bubbles on NPC Delve stations, which has then resulted in some significant damage to hostiles they've tried to undock from NPC Delve stations. Am I wrong there? People haven't been losing Black Ops on NPC Delve undocks because they got caught in a bubble and wrecked by rats.
By the Diamond Rats, yeah.
Or
have the Diamond Rats protect them as they camp the station.
Yeah, that hasn't happened, has it?
No, but that's not even the biggest thing. They seem to think that they'll be able to handle the Goon Menace trying to destroy them from NPC Delve with no problem. And they're like, you are trapped in one system. And yet, we can freely move around Delve just fine, getting where we need to go. You use a Black Ops Sino or Indie Sino, of course. But I've been able to move around. We, Theta yesterday, did some Black Ops dropping for fun. And it was even funnier is in about 5 minutes, I went from 1DQ to K-Tech Al and Quirius to murder some barges trying to mine a R64.
So, just as
Apparently,
a
I shouldn't be able to do that.
just as a further question, does this then mean, or not does this then mean? Sorry, that's a bad phrase to start that question with.
I don't have any work with the clothes right now. Why are you in the house? How did you do
Okay, we'll let Dawn figure out what the hell's going on with her cat, with her
IRL situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
raccoon.
Raccoon.
Something is in the house that should not be in the house. She's been very nice to whatever it is. So
It is very kind. She's always a kind lady.
it's probably not something that isn't supposed to be there, but it may be a thing that is supposed to be outside currently.
We'll wait for her to post and staff to be unmuted.
And Dawn will be right back, everybody. Dawn has gone to hit something with a broom, perhaps. Or
Perhaps.
how did a moose get in the house? Yes, we should ask Dawn that when she comes back.
Get that moose loose about this hoose.
Alright, while Dawn is off, there was also a fight that happened a few days ago, very early Monday morning Eve time. And I'll drop a link to the INN coverage in Twitch chat. But this was a fight that happened over in Tenerifis. There was a Keepstar that was being unanchored and had dropped, and Horde were planning to scoop the Keepstar.
Mm-hmm.
While their freighter was in warp, another freighter came in. Again, another Horde freighter, not the freighter they were expecting, came in, grabbed the Keepstar, tried to warp away again, got caught, and Horde killed one of their own freighters that had looted a Keepstar. The Keepstar dropped, and the wreck was then shot by Horde dreadnoughts in order to prevent anyone else from getting that Keepstar. The fight itself, according to Zkillboard, okay, that's not the page I wanted. The fight itself, according to br.eve tools, once it loads, was not insignificant. You know, you've got the Keepstar death there, but you've also got a number of dreadnoughts dying on both sides. The quantum core for the Keepstar was apparently grabbed by Deepwater hooligans who have been out in that region causing mayhem for a few months now. But yeah, all told, this was like a 180, 190 billion-esque brawl that resulted in just generally kind of a crazy time of it. And all this over an unanchoring Keepstar.
So one of their own ships stole the Keepstar from themselves.
Apparently it was a spy who was trying to steal the Keepstar, but yes, one of a Horde ship stole the Keepstar from Horde. I don't believe it was a Horde Keepstar to begin with, by the way, either, which adds another aspect to it.
Say that again?
I don't believe it was a Horde Keepstar to begin with. I think it was somebody else's Keepstar that was being unanchored that Horde knew the unanchoring time for.
Gotcha.
So a Horde spy had found the unanchoring time.
Uh-huh.
Then they'd planned to scoop it. Then a spy in Horde had another freighter trying to pick up the unanchored Keepstar.
Mm-hmm.
And once Horde realized that the Horde freighter wasn't the Horde freighter that they were looking for, they shot the Horde freighter.
This is not the freighter you're looking for.
His code was too old. It did not check out.
Yes.
And and then, in order to make sure that nobody else managed to scoop the Keepstar in the mess that was this full-on dread brawl, brawl, that was the word I was looking for, Horde then shot the wreck that the Keepstar was in because the Keepstar had survived the freighter being blown up.
And in the wreck, the Keepstar was then blown up.
Yes.
Yep.
Because when you shoot a wreck, whatever the fuck's in it blows up.
Yes.
Yep, just dies.
You know, to have a recording of those comms would have been glorious.
This is very much, as far as I can tell, one of those situations where, like, if you tried to write it, you still wouldn't quite manage the reality of what happened.
Life is stranger than fiction at times, and this is an clear example of that.
You know, of
Should we
things
check
planned
Dawn
at the
again? Just
barbecue.
because she hasn't said anything. Should we check her again?
I haven't
Dawn.
heard anything from you.
Is she
Dawn,
being
can you
eaten
hear
by
us?
her cats? Is she there? All right, she's quiet. Well, we'll find out.
Dawn is dead, guys.
Being eaten by her
But yeah.
cats.
But yeah, this is just one of those things of like,
So we're
You know-
getting an unanchored keep
All
starting.
right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Sorry about the intrusion.
have you
My
chased
dad-
the moose out of your house?
You know,
It
Moose
was
once
my
bit
dad and my
sister.
brother.
Hmm.
I don't like people coming in my house unannounced because I'm messy and I don't like people like seeing it. So I always like, I'm like, just they came over to do some yard work and like I'm like, okay, just text me when you need me to bring something out to you. And nope, just walks right in the house and it's like,
That's what
I know
family
you're on your
does.
show right now, but can we see your snake? And I'm like, oh my, I'll bring it
I
out.
mean-
Hold on.
It's family. Like, what
Yeah.
what are you bitching about here?
They walk in all the time. I walk in my parents' house. They walk in here. You know.
Yeah, but
happens.
I've already told them multiple times I don't like people coming in my house unannounced at all.
Yeah.
I don't
You
live
make
within
people take their
300
shoes
miles.
off, too. Is that one of your rules?
What?
You make people take their shoes off when they come in your house too. Is that one of your rules?
No, I don't care about that.
Okay,
It's
we're just
just I,
making
you know,
sure.
if my house is messy, then they always try to make comments about my house being messy. Well, if you're gonna be insulting at my house, you don't get to come in the house.
Wait,
So
you
that's
don't?
that's how
But
I.
now
do it.
we all know, and you know, 200 plus of your closest friends out on the internet know that your house
That's
is
fine.
messy.
Yeah, people know my house is messy.
I'm still stuck on Eric. You don't
And
take
I-
your shoes off when you come in your house?
Yeah, actually, that is one of our rules. You take your shoes off at the front door.
Yeah, like you have a porch area or something, and you take your shoes off before you come into the rest of the house, so you don't track the mud in.
Well, no. I mean, we don't have much mud. We have a mud room for that, but that's off the garage.
By the way, my snake is about a foot long,
Oh, cool.
foot and a half ish.
Yeah, when
He's
you
a
come
small
in the
little
house, yeah.
corn snake.
Oh, of course. No, when you come in the front door, you come in the garage door into the mudroom, you take your shoes off, and then you come into the rest of the house.
But yeah, no, like we walk in and out of my grandmother's house whenever we're visiting. I mean,
Mhm.
I only visit when I'm up north now, but I live more than 300 miles from my mother. I still have a key to the front door. You know, things
Yeah,
like
like,
that. It's,
I go to my parents' house all the time and just walk in. That's not a problem. But
Yeah, we
My
it's
house
just a
is
problem when
different.
they do
I
it
live-
to you. Okay.
yes, because I don't sit there and insult their house every time they come over to the house, no matter what. I can have the place immaculate, and she'd be like, you know, why? You should really have it organized like this because this would work so much better. Then she just starts touching everything, and then she's like, "Why is this in here?" And then I've got all these questions and stuff I don't want to answer, and I'm just like, "Just leave my stuff alone. Just stop touching my stuff, okay?
Touch
Go
me.
outside." So
Nobody
that's
is
the rule
allowed
of
to
my
touch
house. You
anybody
can't come in
else's
my house
house or
unless
so
I
much.
let you in. God,
This sounds hilarious.
And it will
to
never
me
end.
'cause
Dirk,
every time I visit my mother,
yeah.
for any like significant period, you know, if it's like a flying visit, you know, a day or two, whatever. But if I'm there for a week, I always end up going through their fridge and through their cupboards to like find all of the shit that they've just let go out of date and just kind of left because it's a sealed jar or whatever, and oh, it'll be fine. And I'm like, no, this is not okay. And I always end up going through it, and you know,
Yeah. So-
probably
so
like
I'm
a
just like-
quarter of the shit goes out, and they're always, why are you throwing this shit out? It's fine. It's not fine. You opened this, and you've dipped your fingers in and out to get the gherkins or whatever the fuck it is, and no, it's out of date, and you've been putting bacteria on it. It's gone, and they just don't get it.
and that kind of stuff bothers me really because like my mom cannot stand sitting still and having things not organized. Like, don't get me wrong here, she has like kind of her controlled little messes here and there too, but she cannot stand going to someone's house and like just clothes, you know, maybe from the laundry are piled up on the table to be folded later, or there's some books on the coffee table that need to get put away. Like, she doesn't do it at other people's houses because, you know, that would be rude to touch other people's stuff, right? But apparently going to your children's house, that rule goes out the window and she just starts touching everything. And you're like, Mom, there's a box in my closet you should not be looking at. Okay? Like, like, please just stop touching everything.
my family's houses, we hang washing on coat hangers off door frames and stuff to dry because it's easier that way than having to iron it. And yeah, you know, while it's warm and wet, you just hang it up and it kind of like dries out flat. It's great.
What's in the box? You guys know what's in the box.
Box things got.
Don't play coy. Don't play coy. You know it's in the box.
There is some wonderful ultra moisturizing cream in the box.
Moomin is asking, is there a carrot in the box? No, Moomin, the carrot is not coming. I'm sorry to break this to you, but the carrot is not coming.
There is no spoon.
He's in a thorax. That's funny. So, okay. So, what were we talking about before I got really interrupted and distracted for like 10 minutes?
We have no
honestly,
idea.
I couldn't tell you.
I was talking about how Test and them seem to think they're going to be able to live in Delve, with us living in NPC Delve at the worst case scenario here, right? So, I'm sitting in 1DQ where they can sit off the Keepstar and just watch us. This is one system. This isn't, 8 systems with different buildings. And we're just hot drop a clock. And it literally was about a 10-minute jog because of timers from going from 1DQ to VTech L Aquarius, which is Deep Aquarius, with Black Ops and killing stuff. We lost nothing yesterday. We almost lost one bomber, but we lost out of like 40 people. We lost nothing.
Nothing.
I really don't feel like Brave and Tess say they've lived in Delve before, which is true, but they lived in Delve when things aren't the way they are now. I wouldn't deign to know how to live in Esoteria just because, like, I can get a good idea from jump ranges, but the reality of the situation you won't know until you live there. And everybody's been like, oh, Delve is super easy to live into, blah, blah, blah. Like, do you know how much fucking work it takes to keep Delve safe as much as we could with people trying to get themselves killed?
Dawn, no, you don't ever ask that question, because anybody who ever says, oh, this thing is easy, when it comes to any sort of nullsec organization, has no fucking clue whatsoever. It's like when Hilmar goes, oh yeah, I think nullsec's too safe because, they have local intel.
They have perfect intel, right? Because it doesn't require people to look.
Nullsec super capital umbrellas are far too overpowered, and I'm not going to argue that super capital umbrellas didn't have a period where they were kind of overpowered there, because super capitals are kind of fucked anyway. But the creation of super capital umbrellas wasn't anything to do with whether or not it was difficult to create a super capital in the game. It was to do with the way we organized our umbrella and had people who would actually listen to instructions when instructions were given. Like, these things aren't difficult to do on a basic level. They're difficult to do well because of the process and the sheer number of people that are involved. You've got to have the organization in order to be able to do the thing. And without the actual organizational process, you're just fucked. You're flying blind without a parachute.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's just, and what's, another development. So you know how the beacon provides was a huge meme for weeks because they got some good kills off of it. It felt like being back in home again like normal, with supers dying way more often than they should. Unfortunately, that felt very familiar, unfortunately. But those beacons that they had, 3 of them are gone. They turned them off. Why? Because we were using them to move around Delve freely, because they're idiots.
Look, no. Like, if they want to suggest that the beacon provides, well, the beacon
It
has
does.
provided you a goon super capital fleet on your front door. The beacon was never the beacon was never a benevolent god. The beacon was an indifferent god.
I'm just saying. I just want to point out, Dirk, that the beacon, even in GZAC, provided quite a lot as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I saw some of your guys' kills over there.
the beacons. The beacon is not a benevolent god. The beacon is an indifferent god. The beacon provides. Whether or not you appreciate what the beacon has provided is dependent on your perspective.
So the only one that I know of that's still active as of last night, now this is from last night, is the one in 1 SMEB. For all of you Imperial pilots, that way you don't jump to 1 SMEB to go to the NC feeder. But that's the only one that was working yesterday. So I don't know if they're going to turn other ones on later. I don't know if they're just like flipping them on and off, but AJI and 5-TAC-C both were off, and on T5Z usually is off just because I usually have it jammed. But it's like, okay. Well, I'm glad that that lasted as long as it did, because we started using it to bridge our fleets around Delve, because we're like, we just need to throw, they only have usually 4 or 5 people sitting on the beacons, and then a Sino in case a big thing jumps in. So, you know, as long as you send in enough people to deal with whatever was on the beacon initially, it was fine. You could just move right through around everything like crazy. It's kind of like you don't give hostiles access to your beacons for movement's sake. Ever. Just because, yeah, you might get a good kill here and there, but, you know, as soon as they start figuring it out.
I love how you're saying this, and you're saying ever. Dawn,
I mean, we had it just in 1DQ.
Yeah, 1DQ was a bait beacon for the longest time.
Yeah.
Where do you think they got the idea?
I know we have good, but we did it in one system that we had a ton of people in to control constantly, so people couldn't just bridge fleets in and move around.
1DQ. To be fair though, 1DQ was always the most dangerous system in Delve anyway. More people died in 1DQ than anywhere else in fucking Delve.
It actually was the most dangerous system outside of Jita for years running. I can't.
Well, it was Baby Jita.
It was a Baby Jita. That was actually supported by Dotland, showing kills and stuff. And then S-TAC-6 was the most heavily ratted system in the entire game for 3 years.
So anyway, I think we've talked enough about fights and even stuff, and I am aware of the time at the minute. So I do want to just, like, last topic, well, possibly last topic of the day, who knows with the way these shows go, but it is CSM season again.
Oh, yes, we do need to talk about this.
It is CSM season again, so just briefly for the audience.
Hold on. I need clarification. CSM season. Does that mean we get to hunt them? Is there a limit?
I mean,
is there a daily limit?
Eric,
I
do not condone the hunting of long pig, but I don't know what you guys do over in the Americas.
Do we have to use slugs in our shotguns, or can we use center fire? I mean, what's the rules?
Right. Well,
you are just only allowed to shoot what you can eat.
Holy shit! A wild Caleb.
Wait, Caleb, I think you got that backwards.
No. It's correct. You're only allowed to shoot what you can actually eat.
Oh, shoot what you can eat. Sorry, I meant chew what you can eat,
everything.
And I was like,
I mean, we use the bones in our jewelry and tent supports. We do use their hides for warmth in the winter. So we
The
do
CSM
use every
lines?
piece of a CSM that we,
Who
that we
out of the
can.
CSM, which
Okay.
CSM member would have the best hide to keep you warm? I think Kenneth Feld with his long flowing beard would be pretty good, but I don't know.
No,
Briss doesn't seem like a
we
hairy
shave the
person.
beard and that's how we need rope. We make rope from that. Hair and beard.
Oh, is he our sheep?
Yeah.
Is he our sheep? We're just gonna shear
Sheep,
him
shear
whenever we
him.
need more.
Oh, God. We just went down
my
like
God.
you know when Dirk said, you know, you never know, these things can last
Dirk is
for
a
like
trophy
half an
buck.
hour, right? So
Mark is a trophy buck. See?
Yeah.
Hold it, wait. I just had this picture, right? Merc, you know, dressed very well in a suit, you know, but
Oh, is
his
he
arms
the
down
re-
at his side, like he's jetting out of the wall like this, right? Smiling. He's like the trophy on the wall.
Oh,
Nice
dear.
guy.
Oh,
I love him, but we're just
okay.
making fun and having fun today, guys. So
with that
so you were
with that
saying
wonderful
CSM season.
tangent done. Yeah, so for those who aren't aware in the audience, CSM is the Council of Stellar Management. It's our player-elected body that work with CCP under non-disclosure agreements, try and help CCP really hone in on their plans and on their processes and what they want to be doing with the game going forward. They have some really positive impacts in stemming the flow of CCP stupid. They really struggle in some areas when CCP refuse to talk to them, but by and large, the CSM is a really positive thing for the players to have. And so yeah, every year we elect members of the CSM. This year, the CSM voting period is going to be in a couple of months. So just to talk about the timeline real quick before we get into the meme candidates, between the 26th of April and the 12th of May is actually the submission period for any paperwork for CSM candidates. If you want to stand for CSM, you've got about a week or so to figure out whether or not you want to stand, and then from there you've got 2 weeks-ish to submit all the paperwork that they require. You can find the paperwork that they require. I will find the link for that in just 2 seconds while I talk. But meanwhile, we've also then, after that, got application processing. That takes CCP a couple of weeks. As of the 20th of May, that is the date at which we will know who is being allowed by CCP, who got their paperwork in, who's got all of the things in order to be able to be allowed to run. So 20th of May is when we actually know who we can vote for. That's when campaign season really kicks off. And then between the 8th and 15th of June is when players get to vote for the CSM. You get a week to vote. Anyone who again, there's a thing about voting eligibility. I will double check once we get into the meme candidates just to talk about it. But yeah, there's some voting restrictions for who can vote. And then after that, the votes will all get tallied. On the 21st of June, we will be treated to a live stream from CCP revealing who has been elected to the CSM 16. So that's the whole process. One of the things that prospective CSMs do is go ahead and drop a thread in the CSM subforum. I've just linked that so that people can track what we're talking about here. But anybody who has suggested that they've got a CSM 16 candidacy thread up there, I think there's like 17, maybe 18 people who have put themselves up for it already. Those are people who you can talk to about why they're running for CSM now, what the hell they want to do while they're on the CSM, and yeah, what their aim is. CSM. So let's chat a little bit about that. But before we do, Briss, I see you in Twitch chat. You posted an article last year about this. I think we need to have a chat about that article and reposting it. Thank you. hit me up in my DMs. You know, slide in.
Absolutely, Brisk. Vote early, vote often, and obviously we endorse Brisk Screwball for CSM here.
We
on
do
Twitch
endorse
Talk.
Brisk Screwball.
Absolutely, 100%.
I'm gonna endorse personally somebody else in a minute, but first, Dawn, you were talking about meme candidates while I go and find the voting restriction. Who's a meme candidate this year, Dawn?
Oh, I feel like Kenneth Feld is, but you know that's me.
Wow, shots fired.
I just want to say, Kenneth Feld has yet to announce his candidacy. He's not a meme candidate until he announces. So, who's actually a meme candidate this year, Dawn?
Well, Ron USMC put up a very
what?
I don't want to put. He put up a detailed article, self-indulgence, I don't know, thing for announcing his candidacy, and it's a thing. You should go read it. It does make him sound like he's 12, but you know, he also said that he was the most unbiased, neutral, reporter of the war, which I think that goes to Frost, not Ron, but whatever. And which, if you haven't watched any Frost's stuff, her stuff is getting better. She's doing Alliance shoutouts, which Bastion was this past or previous week. You should go watch that. But yeah, Ron's was kind of all over the place, and he's like, and the Imperium are just gonna be haters. I'm like, how can you say you're unbiased and then say one group is gonna hate you? Get it? It's because you keep doing it. That's why you get stuff back at you.
Yeah,
so
he, like Ron is
That's
a special
funny
kind of
because he
person.
touches
Like,
Billy's willy.
I mean, Ron's not necessarily a bad guy or anything. It's just like I feel like
he's not a bad guy, but he misrepresents himself severely. Like the fact that he decided that he was gonna describe himself as a non-propaganda, as non-propaganda. Like, what?
I think that it's fair to say that Ron is not necessarily a bad guy, but he has one of those lasers out problems in his head.
So
okay, that was an old reference to those that didn't get it.
There's good things and bad things about Ron, right? One thing that I think I've sort of realized after speaking with Ron multiple times is that like he has an opinion on stuff and it's not going to change. Like I don't think I've really ever experienced a situation where like he's like 180'd his position after having a conversation with somebody about something. Like he has an opinion and it doesn't change, which in my mind is not a good CSMer. Like,
true. You have to be open to the
he's
conversation.
civil. Like from a general perspective, he's a good bloke because he can, when you have a conversation with him, like he is polite and civil when he's talking to you, which is nice, so he's respectful in that regard. Like, him and Brisk were talking on a show and like they were both very civil and it was really nice conversation going on. But like, he will be that person who says at the end of that conversation, well, that's great, but I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. And like, that isn't conducive for a CSMer to be one of those sorts of people.
I don't think that's the problem. Okay, I know that current situations might actually make my next comment sound wrong and dumb, but the worst type of CSM member you can have is people that have a strong armchair developer attitude that really wants to be a game designer, because not only are they supposed to be disappointed when they are on the CSM, that's not really their role. If anything, they're game testers.
No, that's fine.
Why is your voice so low today?
Because he just woke up.
He's literally crawled out of bed in time.
Okay. You sound like me then when I wake up.
Shouldn't be my end. I was actually kind of loud on that one.
You're
Mhm,
very
mhm,
deep voiced
mhm.
today. But anyways,
But,
I don't
I
think
mean,
Ron would necessarily be a bad CSM representative. I think he'd do.
I don't.
Just-
I in
He can't do any worse than Omega did. So I'm just saying, like, my standards are low at this
oh,
point.
I
So
don't give
this
him
is-
don't give him a target to sort of beat. Like,
right. This is one of those things where can't do any worse than is
Okay. Can I just add something? This is not saying something about Ron like this is not necessarily a Pappy Imperium thing, because I think
No.
Billy has been an amazing CSM member.
as a
Just to point that out, this is not a side thing. This is definitely just a personality thing.
yeah. So what I was going to say that like saying that somebody cannot do worse than other ex-CSM is not the bar. Also,
okay, well,
not
with-
also
that's
not the
politics I
bar.
go through.
Also, not the bar is this person will represent this particular community, you know, and only this community. Also, not the bar is this person will work with CCP to do the thing. The bar is can they work together with the rest of the CSM on a, unified position to present the best interest of the player game to CCP. Because the moment CCP can split off a single member of the CSM, CCP can use that to justify whatever the fuck they want. As seen with Olmeca, as seen with Feldestry, like these are situations where CSM needs to go into these they need to have a rapport within the CSM. They need to have that rapport separate from any potential grievances within the game that we all play. Then they're not here to represent Pappy's side or the Imperium side or the Wormholer's side. They're there to represent the player sentiment about the health game.
Now,
Wormhole, by the way.
in Ron's thing, he also mentioned his. So Brisk had his thing of get the red dot to a toggle, which he did accomplish, which was great. And a couple other things were like, these are the things I'm going to focus on making sure I bring up every time, like war mechanics, and how war mechanics were just oppressive. And now they're at a place where you can work with them, you can make it work. They're not oppressive as much as they were before. So Ron's platform of like, this is what I'm going to try to accomplish, like this is the thing that I'm going to be focusing on and bringing up each time, was ganking and pipe or gate camping and pipe camping.
Can we flip the question?
It was bad for the game.
Can we flip it and say what constitutes a good CSM member and what type of traits should you have if you want to run?
Well, the number one trait, in my opinion, is that you have to want to fire the CEO. If you don't want to fire the CEO, I'm not voting for you, unless, of course, the state tells me
tells
to vote
you to.
for you. Yeah, that's the only thing. And by the way, it's facetious, right? No, I think that'd be.
I'm just wondering what you guys think.
Which is
of that
why Eric
platform.
doesn't run, by the way, because I do truly want to fire the CEO, so I will be a bad CSM. I'll never run. Although I may be running for school board shortly here in the area, and I may need all of you to come relocate here and vote for me. So
I'll stop some ballots for you, Eric.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Can't you just give us some shell addresses?
Well, I live in the state of Pennsylvania, so you just bring a box of them and just drop them off wherever you want, and you'll get counted.
Someone will get counted at some point.
Oh, they will. Trust me.
So, what do we think about his platform that he's running on? The ganking run. He's running under the premise of that ganking, gate camping, and pipe camping are oppressive and ruining the game.
Okay, so the
Yeah,
fun
people
shit
in
that's been in the game since the beginning that everybody likes to do is bad for the game. Okay. I think we should just remove ammunition from the game.
that whole sort of like, oh, gate camps and all that kind of stuff are bad, and we need to remove it from the game because it's bad. Like, kind of reminds me of the whole sort of like supers and titans ratting are bad because like they shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't be.
I
using
can't
a super
kill
for
it,
that
so
reason.
therefore it should
Okay,
be.
so
And,
you're just
like, it makes
using
me-
one example with another example, which are both bad for the game and should be removed.
What I'm saying is, like, he seems to be thinking that like it's a bad thing for the game, whereas in actual fact, it's a reason for people to be out in space and not docked up.
Well,
And if they're out in
and
space,
again,
then they're able
you're
to
wrong.
be interdicted.
That's the same as saying that Rorquals in the initial version is good for the game because it got a lot of people out in space Rorqual mining. That's just wrong.
It is,
Matt.
but
That's
the only
just
thing,
bad argument.
it isn't a bad argument, you fucking idiot. Like,
It fucking
the
is
reason
because it's
why.
exactly the same argument that's being used about
Okay,
Rorquals,
so,
even though it's bad for the
explain
game.
me, Caleb. Why is it? Explain. Why is it a bad argument?
Because the fact that something is out in space being used doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for the game.
Well, we already said that Rorquals were bad for the game because of the mechanics that they applied to them.
Exactly.
Rorquals in the
But
game,
having them in space.
boosting giant fleets from the pause is a little smarter.
The
But-
issue with Rorquals being in space and being used was not Rorquals. It was the Super Cap umbrella that were basically making them practically invincible. Like, you didn't interdict Rorquals en masse unless you had something of significant power to be able to basically run through them and not like insta die by the titans and supers that came like jumping on top of your face.
Big
The
dogs.
fact that they were out there was a good thing because it meant that like they were being used and they could be interdicted. The only reason why they weren't being interdicted was because of the the significant like tank that they had and the backup that they could get within the time that tank ran out. Like, these are these are sort of like subtle aspects of like nullsec that you need to understand. And it's not just about like, oh, it's in space so it's good, like, or it's in space and Rorquals did what they did and that's bad, so not being in space is a good thing. Like, no, it's so much more subtle than this, Caleb.
And again, you're just not right. Just because you took the floor for several minutes, it's a well-known fact that anything that goes into space that massively overproduces from faucets without having a balanced mortality rate is bad for the game because it completely flattens it out and it makes it what we've had for the past 5 years. And of course, you can say, well, I like the past 5 years, and that's a valid argument. But it's not healthy for the game, and it means that the game will stagnate and die. And again, this is the same with the current problem with high-sec ganking, which is it's not that aggression in high-sec is a problem. It's that the way that it's currently balanced and the initiative, quote unquote, of who is in what situation is just not fair, and it's not been fair in EVE for a long time. When ganking got figured out and calculated down to the decimal point, it just
which took a hell of a lot of man hours just as a brief
that's not a
interruption.
defense for the fact that this is the thing that makes EVE such a niche game. It's the three phenomena that CCP doesn't really know how to address. It's the learning cliff, it's the hostility, and it's the toxicity, which is maybe not that fair, but the fact that when you get into this game, there's just too many things that will scare new players away, and this is just bad for the game, both for us as players.
The fact that
because
they don't have like
we don't have enough
baby
people
area.
to play with, right? Well, it's not baby area. It's just because let's
No, like
okay,
I don't think necessarily having a baby area is a bad idea per se.
No, but it's
if
not
they
a
did it
baby
right.
area. Okay, is Stormwind a baby area in WoW? No, it's not. It's just you can't run around killing people inside Stormwind because you will be insta-ganked by the fucking NPCs.
Right. And I don't mind that that idea of a place for people to learn. The ganking thing, I'm just wondering what he means by I would like more clarification from him on what he determines bad ganking versus good ganking.
I don't think he's got it.
I don't think he has a determination, Dawn. I don't think he has any.
Well, that's
sort
what I
of
want to know.
Fucking, there is no nuance to his perspective on ganking. Ganking is bad. All ganking is bad. You should never be able to shoot another person in high sec, even if they,
That's just
You
bad
know,
and dumb.
they,
because
it's
that
a
would
stupid
undermine-
argument, but that requires
See-
nuanced thought to consider what is bad ganking versus good ganking. Also,
Well,
what
'cause,
sort
like,
of
there's ganking in
ganking should the
nullsec.
mechanics encourage versus what
There's
sort of
ganking in
ganking...
nullsec,
Here's,
but
yeah,
you're
here's
in nullsec.
here's a thought that I came up with in response to keeping players around and things like that, and it really does fold around a baby area, okay? And this I don't think would be that challenging. I want to get your thoughts on it, okay?
Is this the put all the new players in UI model?
No, but just
No.
picture a fairly large area that you can put them in, but not giant, okay?
But again, why
they
are you
can
trying to
live-
make a pen?
They can live, they can do whatever they want in that area, okay? And they can learn in that area. And you can have that area that has, a non-PvP and a PvP area that they can bounce between. But you can only be in that area until you leave that area, and then you can never come back.
But
And
why
it
are you
doesn't
making this
matter- hold
a
on, let me-
problem where
let-
you
but let me
create some
finish.
sort of safe?
Let me finish. Okay? Now, in that area, you can do whatever you want and get as powerful as you want and do whatever you want in there, right? You want to be, and I'm going to say levels, but you know what I mean, skill points, whatever, right? You can get 20 million skill points in there if you want and you live there for 5 years. But when you leave, you can only take 10 million of them with you. And you never go back.
But again, you're trying to segregate the new players or even players that are just high
Yes.
second. This is just bad. Why
Not
not
just
just
high
say that?
sectors. This is your learning area.
Let's
where you
remove
can learn all the
criminals'
mechanics.
ability to dock in NPC stations. Let's flip
No, because
war
that's not
decking. So
realistic.
you
That's-
need a
that's just not
structure
realistic.
where you want to actually attack someone. Let's make actual ganking at gates and at stations really difficult because response
Why?
is just too strong. Because that's
Right.
not supposed to be
This-
where you gank people.
Sure it
This
is.
has to be thrown back at you, Caleb, real quick.
Sure it is.
Seriously, in Twitch chat, you use Stormwind as your example. Stormwind is still a pen.
But it's not. That's just a definition of
Sorry,
it.
it's not a pen. It's a reserve. You
No, it's
can't go
not.
killing other players
It's the biggest.
in Stormwind.
It's the biggest activity city
You-
in the game.
What you just said is you can't go killing players in Stormwind because if you do, you get insta-ganked by the NPCs. If you attack other players, you get insta-ganked by the NPCs.
That doesn't
That's
make it a pen.
that's an NPC policed reserve. You
No,
players
it's
are an
an
NPC
NPC
are in an NPC
police either 4-4.
policed game reserve. That's what Stormwind is in your example here.
No,
It's
not.
a game reserve.
No,
It
it's
is.
not. It's just a protected non-aggression area where
No,
you
Protected
can't.
non-aggression
Let's put it
area.
this
It's
way.
a game reserve for herbivores.
If
No,
you're
it's
gonna
not.
if you're gonna
Yes, it
reduce
is.
if you're gonna reduce ganking in high sec and make it harder and make all this stuff, okay, you're either going to make it the place where all of the nullsec entities do all their work and then move it into nullsec because it's protected, right? That's all you're going to shift there. And if you're going to make it such a protected area, then you have to sit there and say production and everything has to be severely reduced, resources way down, because it's way too protected. And you've essentially just created your protective reserve, but you've just left it open to everybody.
You're using
and
the
you've
same
created
argument
a
that's been used
safe
for more than
space.
10 years.
Safe
And
space.
it's
I
just
do
not
like
good.
the
It's-
idea.
But it's
Then we
true.
have to nerf them. Then we have to nerf them to this level, and then they have to be completely incapable of doing anything. How about just trying to fix the game so it is not this hostile, and then get these paper tigers out of high sec? If they want to gank, make them actually work for a living.
Okay,
Go
no,
to
fuck
low
off,
sec, go to
Caleb.
wormholes, go to null sec to actually kill stuff.
Fuck right off, Caleb. Do you have any idea how much damage has been done by nullsec by nullsecers to nullsec groups simply by killing jump freighters that we know for a fucking fact were heading to legacy space or fraternity space or PL space or
Or even freighters in
Mini
HiSec
love-
from HiSec to HiSec, right?
I mean, freighters and HiSec, but the jump freighters alone.
Burn
The
Jita.
jump. No, specifically, the jump freighter campaigns alone that we know were legacy alts. We know were PL alts that were killed by Minilove while we were in the middle of major wars in order to put pressure on their logistics pipelines. We did
You're
this.
flipping this to make it a completely different problem. And
No,
it's just,
what I'm
it's-
suggesting,
it's a
Caleb,
non
is
sequitur.
Well,
No,
what I'm
it's not.
suggesting, Caleb, is that in your situation where you're portraying gankers as paper tigers, they aren't paper tigers. They're having a significant impact on ongoing conflicts in other regions because Jita is the place that the vast majority of trade flows through. And interdicting that in any way, shape, or form against your hostiles, against people hostile to you, is a positive move. It's a positive thing for you. It's
You're
a
arguing
positive
from
mechanic.
tradition, and it's just bad argument. It's the same
I
as
know,
saying,
because
well, all
tradition
Not arguing
all
from tradition, it's-
all industry should be
Caleb,
Jita
okay,
4.4
right,
because that's where
right.
it's always been, and it's just bad for the game, and it should be removed.
Okay, so one thing, Caleb, you're being triggered by something that Dirk's saying. Dirk, you're being triggered by something that basically, like a single phrase that Caleb mentioned, and rightly so. You know, the people in
point-
HiSec that are ganking freighters and stuff aren't like typically paper tigers. There's only a small subsection of people who are paper tigers in that respect. But Dirk, you're getting
is
triggered by
the-
Caleb. You know, because
I am, because this is a
yeah,
far
but,
more
like, what- the
complex
thing is,
issue than
Dirk,
Caleb is
Dirk,
trying
come
to
on,
present
I know it is. I know
let
it
him
is, Dirk.
finish,
But the
let him
thing
finish.
is, Dirk, you're being triggered by him by thinking that like essentially Caleb wants gankers completely out of HiSec. It's not what he's saying. What he's saying is like it should be harder for you to base out of HiSec. Like if you have the resources to put down, Fortizars and stuff like that in HiSec, or have the players around to be able to put down the Fortizars with the for example, with high enough standings to those factions, and then base your gankers out of that. That's fair enough and fine. But like all Caleb is trying to say is you shouldn't be able to gank and do all of this shit out of NPCs, out of NPC assets, stations, that kind of thing.
If that's the way you want to go with it, that's fine. And I
That's what
really
I
wish
said. That's literally
really-
what I said.
I
Yeah,
really wish
because-
Horrendous were here though to help me argue this point, because
I'm just
The-
going to
the-
ask,
the
in
the
reality,
law argument,
Yeah.
law arguments are that the empires that control these NPC stations. Jita is a bunch of Caldari stations. Dodixia is a bunch of Golente stations. These empires have traditionally never involved themselves in policing capsuleer upon capsuleer violence. So Concord has had to step in. Concord is a unified, in the law, Concord is the unified police force that polices capsuleers on behalf of the empires. It's why when you gank people against the rules of the space you're in, you get concorded. You don't get fucked by the local PD. You get concorded. So if you want to stop the NPC stations, there's a law basis for that, but it's one of those things where locking people out of stations simply because they're ganking is
Completely fucking valid, because that's the same as in Null, right?
it's just asking for
No,
it's asking for it's not.
That's not valid.
And NPC stations are open to everyone, which is half of the issue
Not
with
the
the drone
fucking
lands.
criminals.
I mean, I personally think that like if a group is I personally kind of feel like if a group is like ganking like players with high standings towards a certain group, like that should go negatively towards those gankers, like that. But that's just my personal opinion on that. Like,
so I'm just going to say, in reality, the criminal element is everywhere. You can't keep them out of a city. You can't keep them out of a building. You can't keep them out of general areas. You can't keep criminal elements out of a mall. because you don't know. And just because you're on a computational program of a game that can magically determine who's who and who has what standings, it's ridiculous. In reality, if you're emulating real life, Caleb, the criminal element can dock. It's
But the point is that
that they would have the capability not to let them.
But that's just not true. Your reality comparison is just wrong. If you're trying to actually rent an apartment in a very high end area and you have a massive criminal record, you're gonna have a fucking problem. If you have an outstanding warrant and you walk down Wall Street, you're gonna be arrested. And this is just not the case.
Completely wrong comparison. You picked a high security thing rather than apartments and places that anybody can go to. I guarantee you criminals can rent in any city in the United States, in the world. They can rent things. They can live there. Because guess what? There's criminal activity everywhere. And if you could just keep them out, they wouldn't be. It's foolish. It's a stupid argument.
There will be people who will take cash in hand. There will be people who are willing to look the other way in exchange for a slightly higher rent than they were advertising it for. There will be people who have, if we're going to talk about this, false identities, who will have funding routed through whatever the fuck in the Cayman Islands or Switzerland or wherever. They'll route money and they will present themselves as a businessman, and they will have this identity that will not lead back to your criminal record check.
I'm just saying,
it happened. These things happen all the time, and Eve, you can't fudge your transponder, so yeah, you're stuck with the standings that you've got, but that doesn't mean that your suggestion that it wouldn't happen in real life is flawed on a very fundamental level. And anyway, we have digressed very far, and while we're talking about the CSM elections rather than how the fuck to get around whatever the fuck in various places, there is one thread that I really want to drag people's attention to.
I hope you're going to this particular thread. Like, I really hope you're going to the thread that I'm thinking of.
And this is a really positive thread. I really want to talk positively for a minute about a candidate for CSM, which is Juris Doctor.
Okay, it wasn't the thread that I was thinking you were going to. But
Juris Doctor
is awesome.
Juris Doctor, for those who don't know, is a guy who has been involved in a ton of stuff across EVE. He's played about with the EVE Uni. He currently plays in Nullset with Nullsesh Naya. He was a member of.
Okay, well now my opinion of him went down a little bit.
But that's who he plays with. He's playing with friends who he's been with since he was playing with them in I think the culture, but gonna hurt me if I got that wrong. He's also a staff writer at INN. He's a staff writer at INN. I've been working with him a lot recently on industry articles relating to the Feldestry changes. The dude's been involved working with CCP to introduce different things and stuff. He's got a really comprehensive thread on the forum. And he's just a fantastic guy. Like, I love talking to him. He's a really intelligent dude. He listens to arguments. He doesn't come to conclusions before he's listened to the argument for or against on new information. He has opinions, but he can back them up. And just generally, he's a really nice guy as well. He's got a lot of things that he could bring to the CSM, and I think he's a fantastic candidate. So, live on air, personally, I endorse Juris Doctor for CSM.
There you go.
Do you think he's going to make it to our ballot?
I hope he makes it to our ballot. I hope Brisk Rubal and others who have a say in how that goes are listening, because he really is one of those people who will work for the benefit of the community, and he'll say if he thinks something will be a detriment rather than a benefit. And I think he would be a really positive addition to our ballot.
Yeah. I mean, I entirely endorse the dude. Like, I mean, I don't tend to go onto the Evo forums much. I sort of went onto here onto Jurius's one to post, to basically support him because, like, I mean, like the guy is sharp, like sharp as a fucking Japanese knife, like
Sharp as a sharp thing.
sharp as an
As a shank.
exceptionally sharp thing. No, not as a shank. Shank's a rusty doll.
Jurius is sharp as a sharp thing from Sharptown.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
he's Sharpie McSharpface for sure.
I think I would say that I don't necessarily agree with a lot of things that Jurius stands for, but that doesn't take away the fact that he would be a good candidate. He is, in my opinion, similar to Dunk Dinkle, great for the CSM, not necessarily always with the best ideas and opinions. But again, that's a matter of policy.
I mean,
McLeod.
generally
is
when
Dunk
you
running again?
I think he's not running this time.
the issue that I have in comparison between Dunk and Jurius is, you know, Dunk is good as a conversational sort of negotiator, but it's very rare that he will have facts and figures to back what he says up. Jurius has done and always does the legwork to be able to back up what he's saying. And he's very good at being able to not just look at look at data and be like, you know, oh, this data means that, like, you know, this is wrong, kind of thing. Like, he does make sure that the data that he's looking and that he's drawing conclusions from is accurate. Is like he validates all of the data that he uses to make his points with. Like, it's not a case of he cherry picks. He generally likes to make sure that the data that he presents alongside his arguments are, like, absolutely fundamentally 100% solid.
Let me tell you, Twitch chat right now, by the way, you are asking a lot of questions that would go into 3 hours of talking. Like why did they make all of the mineral requirements for every ship class to be the same across the board? You can watch our older shows to see that comment.
That's a longer conversation. Just to like,
just a side note, I saw some of them come up, and I was like, "Guys, you are asking a lot of really tough questions. Not that they're not good, but we've got over them before in our past shows." By the way, side note as well, we should get Frost on again soon.
I mean,
Yes, we should. We did give her an open invitation, but she has not taken advantage of that yet.
She did say that on her channel that she was looking at wanting to come back in the next few weeks. So
Cool.
hopefully we can
She had fun.
slide her in there.
So just to
Are there any other?
just a really example, real quick. The Jurius does his legwork, does his numbers. And if somebody comes back at him, he will, like, try and figure out what the hell he missed. Jurius published an article nearly 2 weeks ago on the industry changes and some of our preliminary numbers that INN was modeling for those. Somebody commented on his article 9 days ago that he wasn't sure how he calculated the FTL communicator prices. He gave some, you know, basic prices for the intermediate items involved in that, and then gave up a price per communicator that was much higher than Jurius model. Not lower, significantly higher than Jurius modeled. Jurius responded that he thought that was an even better resolution, and could the commenter share his numbers so that we could figure out where the differences were coming from. He wanted to hear from this guy. He does this every single time, and yeah, again, could not be a better candidate.
Alrighty.
Are there
folks.
any other candidates up that we want to
there
shout
was
out or touch
one.
on?
McLeod, did you cover
There
the
was
thread,
one-
you thought?
Oh, so There's apparently a candidate running called Anhis Tasarasa.
What is Zenuria running again this year?
If you haven't heard of Anhis Tasasa, it's because he goes by a different name as well. Anhis is an alt of Nova Valentis. And if that name rings a bell in any way, shape, or form, it might not. Like, it depends on which circles you run by. Like, if that name doesn't ring bells, Nova Valentis used to be past tense a Bomber Bar FC, and then he was, I believe, a where is it? A Spectre Fleet FC as well. He has been embroiled in some, let's just say, ties to extremist groups. And I very much recommend that you guys steer the fuck away from this dude. I mean, chances are he's probably not going to get on to being an actual legit candidate, because CCP has been alerted about it, and they're going to be checking up on his links and all that kind of stuff. But it will be an interesting situation, because like people from like high up dude Viron Stonehard like posted in his CSM candidacy thread about the fact that they they don't want to be connected with this guy at all.
It's back and I need to dip, but Jurius for CSM, I will catch you guys later.
Yeah. So just so you guys know that this is this dude is like not a good guy at all in way, shape, or form.
Not a good guy, huh?
I think we should get Arendis and the Mitani for the CSM.
But Jurius is fucking awesome.
Well, Mittens definitely won't do it.
That's why he sends Merc to do it.
And I'm not mad enough to do it.
And you're massively overqualified, so better not.
Ow!
By the way, seriously sent me something special that we'll play at the end when we're all done. I just downloaded it.
I think we could go for like 4 more hours, but we might want to wait.
Well, we can't because, the meta show will just kick us off because,
Yes.
So, if we don't have anything else, we can go do that. Unless, Arendis, you came in and you got something good for us and you want to keep chit-chatting.
Or do you have any comments of anything we've already talked about that you didn't get
I don't know what you've talked about. I was in a meeting.
We talked about how Tess doesn't seem to understand what it's going to be like to live in Delve these days because we're kicking their butts there. We talked about the CSM candidates, and we talked about
there are already CSM candidacies announced.
Oh yes,
of course. So, haven't you heard that Brisk says that as soon as the voting stops and has been counted, that's when you should already start planning your campaign for the next CSM.
Well, that's true, but that doesn't mean that they've announced yet. Because, I didn't think that CCP had actually opened that yet. They just said that get ready. I wasn't sure if they'd opened it or if they just said get ready. I know that.
So
there's been
is out there.
There's been a lot of bitching in the CSM thread about HiSec needs more representation. Which is kind of a hilarious concept because HiSec could get more representation if HiSec would get organized and fucking vote.
Hold it.
I could represent HiSec. I'm there.
If HiSec actually got organized, they could easily get like 3 or 4 members on the CSM.
But they won't.
They've got the largest corp in the entire game up in HiSec.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just saying that according to the last assessment by CCP, Aerith was a HiSec character.
Nom Nom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
don't understand why there's no.
They've fixed that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying
because Aerith got them to fix it.
Oh. Yeah.
And what I was trying to do was ask about what people thought about Ron's platform for running, which is anti-ganking, anti-gate camping, and anti-pipe camping. Then everybody got stuck on ganking, and I thought Dirk and Caleb were gonna aggressively lick each other or something.
Kill each other.
weird.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Aggressive
And then-
licky.
Here's-
I wanted to ask
here's
about
the
gay
problem.
camping. What's the problem with that?
here's the problem with Ron's platform. Ron has a platform.
There you
I
go.
know. It's
Enough
The
said.
Yeah.
CSM, the CSM can't do anything. There's no point having a platform because nothing you want is really going to get addressed. CCP is just going to keep coming to you with shit, and you have to weigh in on their ideas. If everybody on the CSM gets together to say, here, you guys need to look at this, CCP might look at it, but otherwise, CCP sets the agenda, CCP decides what gets talked about. Don't bother with a fucking platform. All you're doing is lying to people.
Yeah, like how long did it take for Enom to get like CCP
Brisk,
to look at HiSec Wardex? Like
Yeah.
how long was it?
Yeah.
I'm just
And
And that
pointing
was
out
with
like
how
3
much
years.
support around him as
That
well
was
for
a
how many
huge
years?
change.
I'm just pointing out Brisk disagrees with you because he thinks his platform matters.
Well, his
Chris, cruelty
platform
to
and his
George is not a
campaign matter.
platform.
Cruelty to George.
Yeah.
But he got
Yeah,
he got
yeah, we
actual
got fleet
policies realized.
formations.
Same as Dunk,
Jesus
right?
Christ.
Dunk and
Dunk
Brisk
got
actually
salvage drones.
yeah,
Right.
salvage drones and
Sure,
and red
Dunk
dot.
got salvage drones, but Dunk didn't get salvage drones because Dunk had an agenda. Dunk had a platform he was pushing. Dunk got salvage drones because Dunk built up a relationship with the devs and was able to say, hey guys, listen, I thought of this. And it wasn't a big platform thing where he's going, I was elected to get salvage drones. No, that's not how that works. You need the relationship.
Now-
You need to build the relationships.
What do you think is? I do want to ask because we talked about ganking, and they seem to think that Ron thinks that all ganking's bad. So that's established there. But what about gate camping?
All right, I'm just going to
Just
say,
real quick.
I'm just going to say that CCP has said that ganking is good. CCP has said they have numbers that
Yeah.
shows that ganking is good, because ganking, along with gate camps and every other form of, oh my god, you asshole, you just blew me up, gets people to stay in the game for spite, if nothing else. Or they want to
Yeah,
learn
he
how
was
to do
saying
that.
in like his little
Like-
his little CSM
Like
announcement
Rise
post
straight
or
up
whatever.
said that
he was
at
saying,
FanFest.
Can I do a
Right,
post
yeah.
hoc ergo propter hoc?
"What?
You can.
Because that's what they're doing. They're doing Texas student fallacy. They're saying people get resilient by playing Eve. No, they were already ready to be resilient.
No, not
and
necessarily.
to-
Rise's presentation at FanFest definitely showed that there was, at the very least, a strong correlation between people who'd lost a ship to PvP and player retention because they were engaging with other players. Basically, anything that gets you engaging with other players gives you more reason to stay than CCP's shitty ass PvE content.
Right.
It's also one of the few good measurements they have for player-to-player interaction. So
Right.
again, it's cherry picking your data.
I just want to know
I
what
don't
you
know if
think
it's
about
cherry
gate
picking your
camping
data
is
so much
bad.
as your data is a cherry tree. I mean,
Yeah, that's maybe the case, and that means that you're only going to get cherries.
exactly.
The other nice thing about gate camping is that it gives a new player a problem that he can solve, and there are a myriad of ways of being able to get our way like through
See,
a gate
that's what I
camp
always
with
like.
different
What,
types of like just thinking about the problem from a different perspective, from
Well,
a different
here's-
direction.
Here's the issue with it gives a new player a problem he can solve. No, he can't. He doesn't know the gate camp's there until he hits it. Once he hits it,
No,
he
I
doesn't
know
how to
that.
avoid it.
Like he no, like yeah, it's
And-
understandable. He doesn't know it until he hits it, but like that's not like it's not permadeath. Like he comes back.
No, of course it's not permadeath.
all of us have had this come up before multiple times where we're going through a system. We're like, okay, it's a choke point. I got to go through there to get where I want to go if I want to take the short way. So you go through there, and of course, maybe there's a gate camp on one side or the other. You blow up because you didn't bring an interceptor, you didn't bring a fast moving ship, whatever, not, and you die. Well, now, as Max said, it's a problem you got to solve. You have to either choose: do I try to go around and see if I spend more time going around and maybe avoiding it completely, or do I wait, or do I get a different type of ship? I've had it where like there was a
or
smart
I'm
bomber.
I'm running this mission that tells me I need to go to that system, and now I can't. Fuck it, I'm logging off. I mean,
That is very
Yeah, I
rare.
never
Very rare.
learned or anything to use a scout or a Weber or anything yet.
not even I never learned to use a scout. I've been playing the game for a week. Why do I have a second account?
Well, for high sec stuff, that's actually not like you might get ganked, but you know it's.
Whoa, who's talking?
It's not as
I'm not talking
common.
gank. I'm talking.
Oh,
I'm
you
talking
mean
the
like
missions
a
that send you
nullsec
into
mission?
LoSec.
And again, why is it mandatory
Okay.
to have a second account and do more?
Well, it's very easy to avoid that.
Bad game design.
It's very easy to avoid missions that'll send you to LoSec because
But you
the
don't
missions only
know it.
spawn a certain region.
You don't know
and,
you need
and so
to.
then but that's where they've got the rookie help to tell you, like, hey,
Bullshit.
you know, where are good places to do missions? And you can go over here and they'll
Bullshit.
tell you.
Rookie help doesn't do shit.
Rookie help actually has gotten pretty good
You wanna-
the past few years. You can ask them all sorts of dumb questions.
You want a good argument? You want a good argument in favor of ganking, gate camping, and rookie help? Combine all three. If you're going
He
to
was,
camp,
like, saying
if
that it's
you're going
not-
to camp a gate coming into LoSec from HighSec, especially one that's near known mission hubs, get your ass into rookie help. See if the guy you just blew up is in there.
He probably is. But there's ways to get around it. LoSec, there's no bubble, so you just have to get a ship to go, you know, to get out quickly.
That's right, LoSec. There's no bubbles. God damn, it's great that insta-locking interceptors don't exist in LoSec, right?
Yeah, but you can also make a ship insta-align, insta-warp, and then, you know,
And then
or
you're
wait
at the
till they go
mercy
away,
of
or
who
find
has
a way
the
around.
ping.
Yeah.
They're
And
not
it's
being
same in
bubbled
T5Z.
doesn't mean that you're. The lack of bubbles doesn't mean you're safe. It doesn't mean you can get away. It doesn't mean an insta warp will work. It just doesn't.
Right, but there's ways around it. And
Of
those
course
ways
there
require
are.
you to learn more about the game.
Right. But those ways require you to learn more about the game. They're not ways that you're going to be able to solve within the next 2 hours. They're things where you're going to have to go and you have to figure out what the hell went wrong. How you're going to have to go and research how you beat it. You're going to have to figure out what skills you need to beat it. These are not things that a new player is going to look at and go, I can solve this problem. They're things that a new player is going to look at and go, well, fuck that noise.
Well, I mean,
It is possible.
I would like to ask, like, you know, why would a new player in this particular instance be like, you know, going into LoSec?
Because missions
Like,
send you into LoSec.
Missions do
Okay,
send
Courier
you
mission-
into LoSec, but like,
Courier
like,
missions also send you through LoSec, even
So-
non-L4s.
The amount of
so
missions
really
that send you
that's
to
the
LoSec
issue
aren't that
that needs to be
big.
Of course, that's the issue, but let's face it. CCP has needed to revisit and redo missions for, let's see, EVE's existed for what, 18 years now? About 17 years. They haven't.
Exactly.
They're not going to.
Because it makes
So
sense.
saying they
you're
need to
talking-
do X isn't going to happen. All right?
No.
It's just disingenuous to sit there and say, "Oh, we're working on the new player experience," and then you still have these
Oh,
missions
Jesus
that do
Christ.
exactly
Is Dirk
this.
still here?
No, he's
No.
not.
Dirk's still here?
No.
Okay, then since Dirk's not here, I'll have to say it for him, okay? CCP has redoubled their efforts on the new player experience every 6 months for the last 6 years.
I know.
That's
still
a
not
lot
very
of
good.
redoubling. I'm shocked anyone at the company is working on anything else.
You know.
And again, the
It's
core
really
takeaway
hard
from
to fix
everything
those
Arenda said
missions.
is that, well, as a new player, requiring this veteran argument of just get good and just do your research, like, well, the more that is required, and again, having things like mandatory secondary accounts and doing scouting for yourself and
The less I'm likely
remember
to stay with the
figuring out
game.
how to web your transport and stuff like that. It's like these things are just too high of a barrier. People will just say,
But
okay,
the-
you know what? I have a solution. It's called uninstall.
Basically, what it comes down to is, are you giving me a plate with a? Are you giving me a plate of things I can have, or a plate of things I have to have? If I have to do this stuff, I don't want to. If I get to do this stuff, it can be the exact same goddamn stuff. But if it's optional, I'll want to do it a lot more because as soon as it's mandatory, I feel pressured. I don't want to have to be forced to do things that I didn't think I wanted to do.
But
I'm
isn't
gonna
that
go
the
back to,
whole
as a
set
player,
of
Erasmus
rules
CSM.
that
As a
CCP
player, you lose
places?
player agency in that situation.
We're getting kicked off in 2 minutes, by the way,
Oh yeah, we need to go rolling. Oh yeah.
By what?
by Brisk, because they want to get set up for the meta show, make sure things work, blah, 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 blah.
Well, you don't set
So,
them
final
up on the
thoughts.
show. All right, nope. We're just going right to music. We're out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, folks.
Reluctantly joined the fleet tonight. Ships are aligning and warping in time. The FC shouts, the bridge goes up.
I didn't want to kill the
Turning and burning,
conversation,
they
but I
yearn
was like,
for the
I see
loot. They
Brisk and
deftly
Jack.
maneuver and hustle for racks. Tensions burning high, hoping to flex. Reckless and wild to make the enemy walk. Position important with local smack talk. As the fight wraps up, the server goes down. The winning side boasts about how it went down. The battle feels empty except for one man, still looting and salvaging as fast as he can. The fight is all over and the MTU is up. And long ago the Reddit post was up, but he's looting and savaging, collecting the racks and thinking of the isk that he still yearns. He's going for salvage. He's going for loot. He is all alone in a field of greed. Because he's looting and savaging, collecting the field. He's flying and savaging, hoping to be concealed. He's going for salvage. Trophy, no wins, no cube wars or stories. He's hunted by someone, seeking his glory. Going for the rack with doubt and remorse. Reds insist and they're daring force. In his mind he's still safe, still collecting the isk. He's hoping in time that it's worth the risk. Cause he's hoping and savaging and looting the racks. He's flying and savaging, hoping to not be next. The fight is all over and GU is up. And long ago the Reddit post was up. But he's looting and savaging, collecting the racks. And thinking of the isk that he still yearns. He's going for salvage. He's going for loot. He is all alone in a field of greed. Because he's looting and savaging, collecting the field. He's flying and savaging, hoping to be concealed. He's looting and savaging, collecting the field. He's flying and savaging, hoping to be concealed. He's going for salvage. He's going for loot. He's going for salvage. Reluctantly joined the fleet tonight.